Chapter 930. The netizens quickly gathered their thoughts and tried to figure out what this sudden drama was all about. Feng Jing used to be Luo Yinghong's assistant, but after Luo Yinghong became famous, she started her own agency. And now, the long-dormant Luo Yinghong decided to make a comeback. But Luo Yinghong's current manager, Lin Qian, was Feng Jing's daughter. Plus, the public had no idea that Feng Jing was actually married. Why was the drama getting more and more exciting? Although the public didn't know what Feng Jing had done to Luo Yinghong, the industry already had all sorts of speculations. Now that a drama was about to begin, it was naturally used to hype it up. At this time, Feng Jing was in a pitiful state, so she did not hide the fact that she owed her daughter. Her apology was quick, so the public couldn't hate her. After all, the police were there to testify on her behalf. But no matter how big of a commotion Feng Jing made, Lin Qian did not respond. Even though she was being chased by the media, she still kept her mouth shut. After receiving no response, Feng Jing spent the entire day crying and looking haggard. She made sure her image was as pitiful as it could be. In fact, she even personally contacted Superstar Media. Tongning was in the middle of looking through some documents. After hearing from her secretary that Feng Jing was at the door, she turned to look at Lin Qian. Lin Qian was focused on taking care of Luo Yinghong, so she turned off her computer and walked out to meet with Feng Jing. Tongning, hurry and tell Qian Qian to come out and see me. Tongning lowered her head and smiled. Feng Jie, your scenes are useless to Superstar Media. No matter how well you act, you are nothing but a joke to us. Tongning, Lin Qian is my daughter. All I want to do right now is bring my daughter back. You're afraid that Lin Qian and Hong Jie will reveal that you have an illegitimate daughter. That's why you're putting on a show, right? Tongning sat down elegantly on the sofa. Because you know that with Lin Qian's appearance, your scandals will be exposed sooner or later. So, rather than letting others control you, why don't you control it yourself? Don't tell me you want your daughter back. Lin Qian won't go with you. Oomph! Tongning, what right do you have to interfere between me and Qian Qian? Feng Jing sneered. Elsewhere, I may not have the right, but at Superstar Media, I think I have the right. After all, you are currently standing on my turf. I'll be back. Feng Jing knew that she wouldn't be able to see Lin Qian this time, so she turned and left. Not long after, Lin Qian walked out of the practice room and saw the empty doorway. She didn't say a word. In the future, she'll probably come to disgust you once every few days. You have to be prepared. By acting pitiful, she can take her career to the next level. In fact, she can even cause you and Hong Jie's relationship to be in danger at any time. Lin Qian sighed helplessly. His heart felt terrible, but he couldn't find a place to vent it. As Tongning looked at Lin Qian and saw the pained expression on her face, she could imagine how she would be forced by Feng Jing in the future. Ning Jie, help me think of something. Tongning seemed to be waiting for Lin Qian to say this, but she was afraid she wasn't firm enough. Are you sure? You know, when I deal with people, I will never be lenient. Of course I'm sure, Lin Qian replied. Okay. Then you just wait for a good show. Tongning had already treated Lin Qian like a sister, so how could she possibly watch as Lin Qian was tortured like this? Afterwards, wherever Lin Qian went, she was once again surrounded by reporters. But this time, Lin Qian did not avoid them. Instead, she faced one of the cameras and responded, I'm just a manager. I don't want the public to pay too much attention to my identity. Plus, I'm still investigating this matter. Lin Qian, are you saying that you're questioning Feng Jing's identity as your mother? There are plenty of things I'm questioning. From what I remember, I was abandoned. After speaking, Lin Qian turned to leave. But her response gave the media too much information. Did Lin Qian think that Feng Jing had abandoned her? After seeing Lin Qian's interview, Feng Jing was so angry that she flipped the table. Her daughter sure didn't know what was good for her. If Lin Qian insisted on forcing her, then she had no choice but to use force. Afterwards, Feng Jing instructed her assistant to contact Lin Qian. She said that she had something important to discuss with Lin Qian. It was about her biological father. Although Lin Qian didn't want to face it, Feng Jing told her that if she didn't show up, she would tell Li Jin's parents about it. Chen, you wouldn't want the Li family to cancel your engagement before you even get married, would you? Lin Chen had no choice but to agree to meet with Feng Jing. But before they met, Lin Chen still told Tongning about it. Tell me where you're meeting and I'll arrange it, Tongning said. Although I know you're feeling anxious right now, trust me. Okay? Lin Chen nodded her head as the burden in her heart disappeared. At this time, Li Jin was still at the military base and had yet to return home. This was probably the only drawback of marrying a soldier. Soon, Lin Chen arrived at the meeting place. As soon as Feng Jing saw Lin Chen, she grabbed onto her hand and cried, Chen, I know you won't be able to forgive me, but I still hope that you can call me mother. Lin Chen assumed that Feng Jing was addicted to acting. Even without an audience, she could still entertain herself. So, Lin Chen pulled her hand back. Tell me, what happened to my father? I'm your mother. Is this how you treat me? As expected, Feng Jing immediately wiped away her tears and calmed down. Don't talk nonsense. Chen, I'm your mother. You'll never be able to leave me in this lifetime. Feng Jing laughed before she said coldly, I want you to help me deal with Luo Yinghong. Otherwise, I'll tell Li Jin's parents that your father is a rapist. I'm sure the Li family wouldn't allow the daughter of a criminal to enter their home. Lin Chen froze for a moment as she suppressed her emotions. If this gets out, it won't do you any good either. If worst comes to worst, I'll just fight to the death. I'll be the victim. But you'll lose your love and your home. You're insane. Lin Chen commented with one word. It wasn't easy for me to get to where I am today. Luo Yinghong, that slut, actually wants to take me back? Did you think I'd let her succeed? Of course not. So I want you to give me an answer right now. Do you agree or not? Lin Chen looked at Feng Jing and remembered that Tongning was right next door. Only then could she calm down her flustered thoughts. Answer me. Chapter 931. I don't agree to it. Lin Chen lifted her head after a moment of silence and replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. She knew that if she was limited by one step, she would be limited by everything else. Feng Jing looked at Lin Chen in disbelief. After hearing Lin Chen's response, she asked like crazy, Aren't you afraid that the Li family won't give up on you? If the Li family doesn't want me, then it's because we're not fated to be together. But I will never compromise with you. So you can go ahead and tell the Li family that I won't be threatened by you. Feng Jing never imagined that Lin Chen would be so stubborn. Even after being threatened like this, she didn't budge. What was her heart made of? Fine, since that's what you said. Don't blame me for being heartless. Lin Chen glared at Feng Jing coldly. A moment later, she turned around and left Feng Jing's line of sight. She was determined and did not hesitate at all. Feng Jing sat in her chair, completely disappointed in her daughter. Why was Lin Chen so disobedient? Since that was the case, she no longer needed to care about their mother-son relationship. In reality, Lin Chen did not leave the hotel. Instead, she turned around and entered the room next door. As soon as she saw Tongning, she pounced on her. Lin Chen did not cry, but Tongning knew that Lin Chen's heart was about to break. Tongning did not immediately comfort Lin Chen. After quite some time, she finally said, I believe in Li Jin's feelings for you. You need to believe it too. Don't worry, I won't admit defeat to evil, especially not to someone like Feng Jing. Tongning knew that Lin Chen had always been strong. Even if she was being threatened by Feng Jing, she would never compromise. I will definitely get revenge for you. Lin Chen nodded her head and left the hotel with Tongning. At this time, Lin Chen received a phone call from Li Jin, but Lin Chen did not pick up. Soon, Lin Chen returned to the Li family home. As soon as she saw Li Jin, she did not say a word. After quite some time, she finally pounced into Li Jin's arms and hit his chest. What took you so long? The first thing that Li Jin did after returning from his mission was to pay attention to the entertainment industry. So, on the way home, he found out that Feng Jing had been stirring up trouble. Thinking of the grievances that Lin Chen had suffered over the past few days, he hugged her tightly in his arms. Chen, I'm sorry. Lin Qian couldn't hold it in and finally started crying in Li Jin's arms. Li Jin was afraid that his parents would misunderstand, so he carried Lin Qian back to his room. Qian, after crying for a while, Lin Qian finally regained her composure and asked, "Did you already know about my background?" Even Feng Jing received the news. "Did you receive the results a long time ago?" Li Jin took a deep breath and hugged Lin Qian as he nodded his head. "I never planned on letting you know about this." Lin Qian sneered and shook her head. "Unfortunately, someone doesn't want me to have an easy time. You know what? Li Jin, Feng Jing even threatened me today. If I don't help her achieve her goal, she'll tell auntie and uncle about my father." "What happened to your biological father?" Li Jin asked. In reality, he forced himself to remain calm on the surface, but he was actually heartbroken. Lin Qian was his treasure, yet there were people that repeatedly hurt her. She said that I was an illegitimate child that was left behind by her. After hearing this, Li Jin hugged Lin Qian tightly. "Luckily, you didn't believe her, huh?" Lin Qian looked at Li Jin confusedly. Li Jin let go of her and went into the study room to retrieve some information. He then handed it to her. "I asked a friend to investigate Feng Jing. According to the information, before Feng Jing became Luo Yinghong's assistant, she was once in a relationship with a rich heir. Afterwards, due to a series of bad behavior, she was abandoned by the rich heir, not long after you were born. So, your biological father should be that rich second-generation heir." Silly Qian. Luckily, you didn't fall for her trap. Lin Qian looked at the information and suddenly felt a weight lifted off her shoulders. "If you want to acknowledge your biological father." "No need," Lin Qian rejected. "I'm doing great right now. I don't want to endure being abandoned again." Lin Qian's concerns weren't unreasonable. Since the rich heir came from a wealthy family, he must have been married and had children. So, if she suddenly appeared out of nowhere, wouldn't she be ruining his peaceful family? Lin Qian didn't think it was necessary. Li Jin retrieved the information from Lin Qian's hands and placed it to the side. He then approached Lin Qian and pulled her into his embrace. "If that woman wants to die and look for our parents, then let her. You need to trust that our parents aren't easy to deal with." Lin Qian leaned into Li Jin's embrace and nodded her head in relief. "I trust you and I trust uncle and auntie." Li Jin cupped Lin Qian's face in his hands and kissed away her tears. However, as they passionately kissed, the couple almost lost control. However, at the crucial moment, Li Jin controlled himself and patted Lin Qian on the head before pushing her onto the bed. "Have a good sleep. I'll wake you up when it's time to eat." Okay. Lin Qian was indeed tired. Very tired. After coaxing Lin Qian to sleep, Li Jin headed downstairs to discuss Feng Jing with his parents. As soon as Li Jin's parents heard this, Mother Li slammed her hands on the table. How could an animal like this exist? How could he use his own daughter? "Mom, Qian has suffered a lot. Don't worry, as long as this slut dares to come looking for me, I will put on a good show. I will let her know that she can't afford to offend or bully anyone. If she doesn't want Qian, I want her," Mother Li humphed. As soon as Li Jin heard this, he was relieved. "And you're always out on business, leaving Qian to suffer on her own. There's no one to comfort her." "Mom, when I'm not around, I'll leave Lin Qian in your care." If you weren't my son and working for the country, I would have kicked you to death a long time ago," Mother Li scoffed. Obviously, she was surprised that her son managed to find a woman like Lin Qian. It was like a flower stuck in cow dung. Li Jin was willing to suffer on his own. As long as his mother treated Lin Qian well, it didn't matter if a man was a little despised. In that case, I'll be waiting to watch a good show. Lin Qian had no idea what was happening, but the Li family were determined to get justice for their daughter-in-law. So, Tongning wasn't going to sit around either. Did Feng Jing think that she could do anything? It wasn't long before she realized that she had offended someone she shouldn't have offended. There was no doubt that Feng Jing was capable of taking action. On the surface, she had asked her manager to meet the Li family to discuss their marriage. She wanted to fulfill her responsibility as a mother. But Feng Jing's intentions were obvious and everyone knew what she was up to. Chapter 932. Mother Li pretended not to know anything about Lin Qian, so she naturally fell into Feng Jing's trap. The two agreed to meet as soon as possible to give Lin Qian and Li Jin an explanation. Mother Li told Lin Qian about Feng Jing's meeting with Lin Qian, who was about to leave for work that morning. She wanted her to be mentally prepared. Qian, although you haven't acknowledged Feng Jing as your mother, since she made an appointment with me and your uncle, we naturally have to meet. Dinner will be at 7 p.m. at a nearby hotel. Don't forget the time when you get home. Auntie, Lin Qian called out to Mother Li uncomfortably. Leave everything to me. You don't need to worry about anything. Lin Qian nodded her head. Although she trusted Mother Li, she didn't trust Feng Jing, who knew how many tricks this woman had up her sleeves to achieve her motive. Although Lin Qian was worried, she had no choice but to head to Superstar Media to supervise Luo Yinghong's training. At work, she meticulously organized Luo Yinghong's classes so that one day, Luo Yinghong could return to her rightful position. But, during breaks, Luo Yinghong always stood by the window in a daze. Feng Jing must have thought of plenty of ways to torture you. Hearing Luo Yinghong's words, Lin Qian turned her head and smiled bitterly. No one knows her better than I do, Luo Yinghong said as she wiped the sweat off her forehead. For the sake of our goal, we can sacrifice anything. So what if she's our own daughter? If you don't get rid of her, you will suffer for the rest of your life. Lin Qian did not say a word. She was worried about the dinner tonight. If Feng Jing had the guts to say that she had been raped, then there was nothing she could say. Tongning could tell that Lin Qian wasn't paying attention, so she tried her best to help Lin Qian gather more secrets about Feng Jing. She had a feeling that she would be able to uncover more terrifying secrets from Feng Jing. Lin Qian told Tongning about her parents' meeting that night. After hearing this, Tongning simply laughed. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid that you'll be embarrassed? Or are you afraid that the Li family will despise you? Lin Qian shook her head. I'm afraid that I'll accidentally kill her one day. Tongning placed her hand on Lin Qian's shoulder and shook her head. To deal with a slut, you can only use an even more despicable method. Tonight will definitely be a great show. Maybe. Lin Qian smiled and left the company at 6 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, she arrived at the hotel on time. As Lin Qian stared at the hotel entrance, she had no intention of stepping in. She had no intention of acknowledging Feng Jing's identity. After hesitating for a while, Lin Qian decided to enter the hotel. However, as soon as she stepped through the door, Mother Li pulled her aside. Auntie, why aren't you up there yet? Of course I'm going to wait for you, Mother Li said. Come, hold my hand. Lin Qian took the opportunity to hook her arm onto Mother Li's. Compared to Feng Jing, they looked more like mother and daughter. As the two arrived at the meeting place, Feng Jing and her assistant were already waiting impatiently. Mother Li had deliberately arrived half an hour late with Lin Qian. Sorry, we're late. Mother Li led Lin Qian to sit down like they were blood-related. As soon as Feng Jing saw this, she stood up to pull Lin Qian to her side. But Mother Li quickly stopped her. No need. Qian can sit next to me. She's fine. I'm relieved to see that Mrs. Li treats Qian like her own daughter, Feng Jing said pretentiously. I was actually afraid that Qian would suffer after getting married. It seems she respects you a lot. She simply hates me as a mother, Feng Jing said, putting on an act. While the two women were talking, Li Jin and Father Li arrived. The two men acted like soldiers, so it was obvious that they didn't talk much. Li Jin took the opportunity to add a chair next to Lin Qian as he wrapped his long arms around her body, drawing her into his sphere of influence. He glared at Feng Jing with a warning look. Seeing this, Feng Jing continued to smile. My future son-in-law doesn't seem pleased with me. Qian has never acknowledged your identity, Li Jin replied straightforwardly. But I can't deny it, Feng Jing shrugged. I know that the Li family is a wealthy family and must place a lot of importance on their reputation. That's why I want to make things clear to you today. I don't want you to accuse me of cheating in the future. It seems Ms. Feng has something important that you haven't told us yet, Mother Li said with a deeper meaning. Yes, I do. It's all about the past. To be honest, I have no idea who Qian Qian's father is. Back then, I was young and arrogant and made a lot of mistakes. Even Qian Qian's birth was unexpected. If news of this gets out of hand, I won't be responsible. Ms. Feng Sure is straightforward. Aren't you afraid that you'll ruin your daughter's marriage? Mother Li asked as she raised an eyebrow. If I don't make things clear now, wouldn't it be even worse if I'm found out in the future? Plus, Qian Qian was raised by the Quan family and was in a relationship with her brother. By the way, has she told you all about this? Feng Jing asked in a provocative tone. Lin Qian looked at Feng Jing coldly. She hasn't said anything, Mother Li replied. Feng Jing glanced at Lin Qian before she turned to look at Mother Li and Father Li. She's probably too embarrassed to talk about it. Her father is unknown. Her mother is being bullied and the family that adopted her has ulterior motives. If I was her, I wouldn't say anything either. Ms. Feng, did you know that your words are enough to destroy Lin Qian's image in front of us? Our Li family has a strict tradition. We can't tolerate people that are despicable and despicable. Nor can we tolerate people that act recklessly, Mother Li said angrily. That's right. That's why I'm curious. Why do you want Qian Qian to be your daughter-in-law? It seems she's not being honest. Feng Jing continued to fan the flames. Mother Li turned and looked at her husband before she looked at Lin Qian and Li Jin. She then nodded her head. Indeed. Lin Qian lowered her head. She suddenly felt extremely nervous. At this moment, she felt like she had been betrayed by her mother and had no pride left to speak of. Although Lin Qian is my biological daughter, we've never interacted with each other before. So I did some research on her. She used to have a special relationship with the Quan family's adopted son, and she's in the entertainment industry. I'm sure she'll make your son a cuckold sooner or later. In summary, I don't approve of Lin Qian marrying your son because it's a disgrace to the Li family. I don't think I'm worthy of her. In order to play along with Feng Jing, Mother Li nodded her head. You're not wrong. After all, having a mother in the entertainment industry is indeed worrying. That's why I'm here today to help Qian Qian cancel her engagement. Chapter 933. Seeing the expression on Mother Li's face, Feng Jing's lips secretly curved upwards. She believed that no parent would throw their son into a pit of fire. They clearly knew the woman's situation, yet they still wanted them to get married. Especially when Feng Jing saw Lin Qian's humiliated expression, she felt a sense of victory. She wanted to tell Lin Qian that as a daughter, if she didn't listen to her mother, she would end up losing everything. The Li family looked at Feng Jing without saying a word. This made Feng Jing think that the entire family was so angry that they were speechless. Indeed, the Li family were angry, but the reason for their anger was different from what Feng Jing imagined. Qian Qian, things have already gotten to this point. Come home with me. After speaking, Feng Jing stood up from the dining table. However, Mother Li took the opportunity to hold on to Lin Qian's legs and glared at her coldly. Ms. Feng, you've really opened my eyes today. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its cubs. You've sold your daughter well. Feng Jing turned around and looked at Mother Li, not understanding where she was coming from. Mother Li laughed and played the voice recording on her phone to Feng Jing. You sure are despicable. After speaking, Mother Li stood up and pushed Lin Qian into his arms. Stand to the side. You're affecting my performance. As soon as Li Jin heard this, he immediately pulled Lin Qian and Father Li onto the sofa in the waiting area, leaving Mother Li to deal with Feng Jing. Firstly, you said that you're here to cancel Qian Qian's engagement. I would like to ask you, Ms. Feng, what right do you have to cancel it? Don't talk to me about blood ties. I'm going to take Lin Qian overseas tomorrow and change her DNA. You can claim that you're Lin Qian's mother, but we're not going to admit it. It's fine that you were abandoned by a rich second-generation heir because you couldn't keep your man. At least you stole someone else's Best Actress title, so you didn't lose too badly. But I don't understand. Is it really that honorable to say that you were raped in front of outsiders? If you didn't feel embarrassed when you said that, I'd have to admire you from the bottom of my heart. Why didn't the Fei Tian Awards award you with a most shameless award? Also, I wasn't talking about Qian Qian when I said lustful generation. I was talking about you, the almighty best actress. You actually stole someone else's 20-year-old son to warm your bed. You sure are reckless. In the end, you're right. You're indeed not worthy of the Lee family. Trash like you better not come looking for me a second time. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that the recording in my hands will become a joke. Mother Lee was like a firecracker as she bombarded Feng Jing with her thoughts. Feng Jing's face turned red from the humiliation. Even though she considered herself to be shameless, she still felt extremely embarrassed when she heard that. But Mother Lee did not say enough. She directly walked over to Feng Jing and looked down at her. This was the advantage of being tall. You don't want Qian. I want her. So, I don't want to hear anything bad about her from your mouth. She's going to be the daughter-in-law of the Lee family. If anyone dares to ruin her image and speak ill of her, then I won't have been a government official's wife for nothing. If you know what's good for you, then get lost. If I find out that you threaten Lin Chen again, then I'm going to reveal everything that happened in the past to the public. After speaking, Mother Lee pushed Feng Jing away. You're trash. You're dirtying my hands. Afterwards, Mother Lee said to the three people beside her, Aren't you going to leave? I'm about to puke from the stench. Father Lee looked at the two women and they stood up from the sofa. Mother Lee pushed Feng Jing aside and deliberately held onto Lin Qian. The two women looked like mother and daughter, completely unaffected by Feng Jing's attempt to drive a wedge between them. Feng Jing was humiliated and Mother Lee even managed to get her hands on the recording. As she watched them leave, she was so angry that she almost flipped the table in front of her. How dare you trick me? Just wait and see. After boarding the car, Lin Qian began to cry. For some reason, her heart ached. As soon as Li Jin saw this, he quickly wiped her tears away. You're fine. Why are you crying? I don't think I'm worth it, Lin Qian said as she sobbed. Good child. Don't let your thoughts be burdened. Your auntie has been through all sorts of storms over the years. How could she not be able to defeat a few pieces of trash? Don't worry. Your auntie isn't someone to be bullied. Mother Lee comforted. Mom was once a female scout. Don't worry and let her protect you. Otherwise, she'll be bored. Lin Qian was originally crying, but after hearing this, she let out a laugh. Thank you for protecting me. She remembered how well the Li family treated her. At the same time, when she faced Feng Jing again, she was going to show no mercy. Most importantly, everything that happened today made her realize one thing. There were some things that she had to settle with her own two hands. Otherwise, Feng Jing would never stop because she had no sense of shame. This meeting made Lin Qian realize how protective the Li family were and made her even more determined to help Luo Yinghong. After hearing how Mother Li tore Feng Jing apart, Tongning almost wanted to clap and cheer for Mother Li. This was the type of explosive power and courage that she needed. Ning Jie, I think it's time for Feng Jing to pay for what she's done. Tang Ning looked at Lin Qian, his eyes sparkling. In that case, let's take things one step at a time until she's beyond redemption. As Tongning said these words, she had already paved the way for Luo Yinghong. Of course, she also wanted to destroy Feng Jing. Luo Yinghong's rise was bound to cause Feng Jing's downfall. Do you already have a plan in mind? Tongning waved at Lin Qian and began to give her instructions. After hearing this, Lin Qian nodded her head. The reason why she was convinced by Tongning and was willing to become her right-hand man was because of Tongning's meticulous thinking and foresight. She had the ability to convince others. I understand, after 45 days of intensive training, Tongning instructed Luo Yinghong to appear at gyms, bookstores, golf courses, tennis courts, and high-class skincare facilities. Every time Luo Yinghong appeared, she would attract the attention of the audience. Because of Luo Yinghong's change and positive and healthy lifestyle, they were touched. Before signing with Superstar Media, Luo Yinghong had the image of a resentful housewife. In fact, as time passed, she had already become a housewife and an old woman. She no longer looked like an actress. But, after signing with Superstar Media, she jumped out of the box and left her normal life to live for herself. She worked out healthily and participated in all sorts of elegant activities. It was like she wanted to turn her future life into art. Seeing this, some people couldn't help but sigh. Even if Luo Yinghong no longer worked as an actress, she would still become an artist. It was all because of her talent. Chapter 934. Actually, the most unexpected thing about Luo Yinghong was that she actually knew how to make a lot of handicrafts. After her husband passed away and her son became rebellious, she developed the habit of making handicrafts to vent her emotions. So, under the influence of art, the things she made were always pleasing to the eye. As a result, Tongning specially built a new home for Luo Yinghong. The home was filled with some of Luo Yinghong's artworks. After the photos were leaked, she immediately won over the hearts of many women. However, the public didn't understand. What path did Tongning want Luo Yinghong to take? Why did Luo Yinghong never play by the rules? If she wanted to make an actress famous again, she didn't want her to take on a film or negotiate for resources. Instead, she wanted her to live a comfortable life. Because of this, Luo Yinghong broke away from her previous habits. From the way she dressed, she underwent a shocking change. In the past, for the sake of living, she had already become a normal housewife who wore simple clothes. But now, in order to live for herself, she took out all her savings and bought herself the best things according to her physique teacher's instructions. As a result, Luo Yinghong was either wearing a fairy-like dress or a fitted qipao. Although she looked like she was 40 years old, she was calm and elegant. It was worth noting that Luo Yinghong's change was extremely admirable. After all, not everyone could let go of their lives and completely change their way of life. But Luo Yinghong used her actions to tell everyone that a 40-year-old woman could also live for herself. As a result, the public couldn't compare Luo Yinghong to anyone in the entertainment industry, not even Feng Jing. After all, Luo Yinghong was living like a fairy. Soon, news of Luo Yinghong spread all over the internet. All sorts of photos of her, whether they were of her working out, playing golf, or doing handicrafts, were all uploaded online. Even though she had a scar on her face, it didn't affect her beauty. On the contrary, the scar made her existence even more special. Next, it was time for Tongning to step into the spotlight. Because of Luo Yinghong's outstanding artistic talent, she specifically introduced her to the director of Saint Jewelry and arranged for them to meet as soon as possible. After seeing Luo Yinghong's artwork, the director was extremely interested in her talent. He also invited her to join the jewelry design for the new season and hoped that she could be the spokesperson. Luo Yinghong was overjoyed by this news. She couldn't believe that someone was still willing to use her after her face was already in such a state. Was this real? She can still shoot commercials? The scar on her face was probably the thing that made Luo Yinghong feel the most inferior. However, one sentence from Tongning dispelled her worries. You don't have to worry at all, because the makeup artist will use the shape of your scar to design your tattoo. President Tang's suggestion is very good. I look forward to our cooperation. After receiving her first contract, Luo Yinghong almost burst into tears. She couldn't believe that she would actually be able to return to the entertainment industry. Tongning, is this all real? I don't think it's real. Tongning smiled as she handed a tissue to Luo Yinghong. You have talent to begin with? That's without a doubt. The series of changes that Superstar Media created for you was to give you a brand new image in front of the public. Of course, forcing a change wouldn't be accepted. But, at the age of 40, the fact that you were able to abandon everything and live a new life is something that many young people admire. That's why the early stages of the project have been so smooth. As for Saint Jewelry, I can't deny that we are working together and have agreed on the conditions. But this is a mutually beneficial situation. After hearing Tongning's explanation, Luo Yinghong didn't know what to say. You can really read people's minds. You know exactly what the public wants. That's amazing. Tongning shook her head as she stood up and said, Our first battle was great, but Feng Jing will soon join us. We will also face a lot of difficulties and challenges. I trust you, Luo Yinghong replied. I trust in your arrangements. No, the person that you should trust is Lin Qian. In front of everyone, she runs around for you. But behind the scenes, she does her homework for you, Tongning said. Although I am the one that executes the general direction, Lin Qian is the one that comes up with a lot of ideas. She will never stand on Feng Jing's side. Luo Yinghong held on to her contract and looked at Lin Qian as she nodded her head. I know. I've been paying attention to everything. It's good that you understand. Lin Qian has encountered an ungrateful person in the past. I just hope that you can understand her pain. Don't worry. I know what's good for me, Luo Yinghong replied firmly. She told me everything that Feng Jing has done to her. I don't think Feng Jing will ever get the chance to hurt Lin Qian again. Protection was always mutual. Now that Luo Yinghong had a new lease on life, she naturally wouldn't forget how busy Lin Qian had been. At this time, Feng Jing thought that Tongning would only let Luo Yinghong gain some popularity on the outskirts of the industry. Otherwise, why hadn't she done anything in 2 months? Did she think that Luo Yinghong could return to the entertainment industry with her lousy toys and a healthy body? Feng Jing had no idea that Luo Yinghong's return wasn't to compete with her because she wasn't worthy. Luo Yinghong wanted to win against her. Otherwise, compared to Feng Jing, wouldn't she be degrading herself? Tongning had always supported people in this way. On the road to stardom, she couldn't set her enemies as her goal. She hoped that every artist would eventually find their own crown. That was something that couldn't be achieved by fighting with their enemies. But taking revenge on one's enemies was a must. If possible, it was best to move forward by stepping on their heads. Xinglan, Luo Shang, and Xia Hanmo were the same. And now Luo Yinghong was the same. Feng Jing still hasn't realized how dangerous you are. This is the best time for us to make our move. By the time Feng Jing realizes what's going on, all she can do is wait to be beaten. Because Tongning had already paved the way forward. Perhaps it was because Tongning had been working for too long and had been standing for too long, she felt a little tired. So, Luo Yinghong quickly held on to her and comforted. Sit down and get some rest. Tongning shook her head and smiled as she rubbed her stomach. It's fine. It's the one in my stomach that isn't listening. You. As Tongning was wearing a thick layer of clothing, Luo Yinghong had no idea that she was pregnant. You're pregnant. Why are you tormenting yourself? Did President Mo allow it? Shoot. Don't let him know, Tongning quickly reminded. However, a certain someone happened to walk into the office and overheard their conversation. Chapter 935. I heard it, Mo Ting said as he stood behind the couple. Tongning was a little surprised. She then turned around and looked at Mo Ting's thoughtful expression as she explained. It's just a little pregnancy reaction. It's a normal physiological reaction. Let's go to the hospital for a checkup. Tongning was a little helpless, but she didn't mind. She knew that Mo Ting wouldn't be at ease if he didn't receive the results of the checkup. Luo Yinghong looked at the couple. Tongning was obviously a smart and capable woman a moment ago. But in front of Mo Ting, she appeared weak and fragile. In that case, Hong Jie will be leaving. Let's hurry. Luo Yinghong nodded her head. Afterwards, she once again immersed herself in her training. Even though Tongning had already paved the way, Luo Yinghong couldn't afford to slack off. She knew that if she wanted to establish herself in the entertainment industry again in the long run, she needed to produce something amazing. It was already evening, yet she still had to go to the hospital for a checkup. Tongning felt a little bitter, but she never expected to see Zhou Qing at the hospital. Unfortunately, Zhou Qing didn't see the couple. Judging from Zhou Qing's hunched back, it doesn't look like a light injury. Mo Ting did not respond. He simply gestured for her to look straight ahead with his chin. Tongning followed Mo Ting's line of sight and saw Xia Hanmo walking towards the couple dressed in a black suit and a trench coat. Tongning thought that Xia Hanmo and Zhou Qing were still tangling with each other. But Xia Hanmo simply said, "Long time no see." It had been almost 2 months. It had indeed been a long time. You and Zhou Qing, we've been apart for a long time. I followed behind him because I wanted to know how long he had left to live. As you know, the station manager's son spent a lot of money to torture him. That was the only way I could alleviate the guilt I felt towards Lin Qian, Xia Hanmo explained. I've seen superstar media's recent movements and heard about Lin Qian's situation. I hope she can get through this. Plus, I really regret it. After hearing this, Tongning did not soften her heart and forgive Xia Hanmo. After all, the person that Xia Hanmo owed the most was Lin Qian. In that case, I won't disturb you anymore. After speaking, Xia Hanmo turned around and left. She knew that even if Tongning no longer hated her, she would never forgive her. So, all she could do for Tongning and Superstar Media was help Tongning and Superstar Media out in the dark. If she's smart enough, she'll use Mr. Lu's influence to climb up again. Let's go. Emoting never had anything to say about betrayers. In fact, he didn't even want to comment on them. After all, the most important thing for Superstar Media was Luo Yinghong and the Ant Queen. Luo Yinghong's first victory was within everyone's expectations, so there was nothing Feng Jing could do. Even if she wanted to incite her fans to slander Luo Yinghong's name, the two of them weren't on the same level. Since they weren't competitors for no reason, it was inevitable that someone would use it against her. This was where Tongning was smart. She had many paths to explore as an artist, not just by being an actress. She understood one thing. No matter what you wanted to do before you were popular, you had no right to choose. On the contrary, once you become a popular artist, no matter what you want to do, it will come naturally. So, Feng Jing could only watch as Luo Yinghong rose up. Plus, she was a predator. Apart from Luo Yinghong's disfigured face, she couldn't find any other way to deal with her. After all, it was too easy for Luo Yinghong to bite back at her. But the scariest thing was, as soon as Feng Jing made a move, Tongning would immediately retaliate. Lin Qian hoped that moment would come sooner rather than later. She couldn't wait to see Feng Jing's reputation destroyed. After the incident where Feng Jing broke off the engagement, the Li family's preparations for the wedding shot up like a rocket. Soon, Mother Li arranged for Lin Qian and Li Jin to pick out a dress. Even though they arrived at a bridal shop, Lin Qian still didn't feel like it was real. It seemed she wouldn't be able to get into character anytime soon. Seeing that Lin Qian wasn't paying attention, Li Jin quickly asked, "You don't like this shop? We can go to another one." Lin Qian shook her head. "I'm not ready yet. The marriage application has already been approved," Li Jin said as he hugged Lin Qian. "Since you don't like it, let's go home." But Li Jin did not say a word as he led Lin Qian home. "There were paparazzi following us just now. We'll try on the dress another day." Lin Qian nodded her head. "But that might be 10 days from now. I need to go on a mission tomorrow at 5 a.m. "I'll wait for you to come home," Lin Qian replied gently. But there were some things that she didn't want to keep to herself. "Li Jin, I'm sorry, but I'm not a housewife. I can't stay at home and wait for my husband like other women. I'm also not like other women that spend their time on weddings. I think you don't need to say anything. If you don't want to do it, then let Mom and Dad prepare it for you." Li Jin obviously understood. After all, in Lin Qian's heart, all ceremonies were empty. She liked things that lasted for a long time. No matter how much effort she put into a wedding or how grand the event was, it couldn't compare to him spending 2 more days at home with her. Lin Qian nodded her head gratefully. But that night, she sat in bed in a daze. Although she and Li Jin were living together, Li Jin wasn't home most of the time. Even when he was home, they would lie in separate rooms and never cross the line. But that night, Lin Qian stared anxiously at the closed bathroom door. Afterwards, she removed her robe and pushed the door open without a care in the world. Seeing this, Li Jin quickly looked away. Qian, get out." Lin Qian pressed herself against Li Jin's body and hugged him. "I don't regret it." Under the shower, Li Jin struggled. But Lin Qian took the initiative to move closer. Li Jin's willpower slowly collapsed. Soon, the couple moved onto the soft bed and were tightly pressed against each other. "Have you really thought it through?" Li Jin tried his best to hold back. His voice was deep and raspy, but it was filled with passion. Lin Qian hooked her arms around his neck and nodded her head. "I've thought it through very clearly." As soon as Li Jin got his answer, he leaned down. Their bodies moved passionately as they twisted and turned. Their intimate kisses were accompanied by deep moans that made one blush and their hearts race. That night, Lin Qian slept in the crook of Li Jin's arm. But before 5 a.m., she was woken up by Li Jin. "You're leaving?" Li Jin turned around and leaned over to kiss Lin Qian. "It's still a bit early before dawn. Go back to sleep and take a bath when you wake up. Be safe." As a military wife, this was the only thing Lin Qian could say to Li Jin. "I'll always wait for you." Chapter 936. Soon, it was time for the Fei Tian Awards ceremony. It was scheduled to be held in a few days. Feng Jing was one of the most popular nominees. Although she put on a sad show of searching for her daughter, she did not gain much of an advantage at the Fei Tian Awards. After all, when it came to popularity, there was no way she could compete with Tongning. But, even if she didn't receive an award as a nominee, she still had to appear at the ceremony. In this aspect, she wasn't Tongning and couldn't be as willful as her. Everyone assumed that Tongning wouldn't attend the Fei Tian Awards because she was certain that she wouldn't be returning to acting. But Hai Rui ended up nominating Survivor for an award, and it ended up receiving multiple nominations. Because of this, Mo Ting came looking for Lin Qian in private. "President Mo, did you need something from me?" Lin Qian was curious. Logically speaking, Mo Ting had so many outstanding generals around him. No matter what happened, he shouldn't have come looking for her. So why was he looking for her today? Mo Ting put down the pen in his hand and looked at Lin Qian. As the Ant Queen was already halfway through filming, Mo Ting was able to arrange his time for work at Hai Rui. "I'm sure you're aware that Tongning won't be attending the Fei Tian Awards this year. As for you, you are still her assistant. So, I want you to receive the Fei Tian Award on her behalf. This is perfectly justifiable and reasonable." "Me?" Lin Qian was confused by Mo Ting's instructions. "I thought you'd like a situation like this," Mo Ting said with a hidden meaning. "Don't forget, Feng Jing is also one of the nominees." Lin Qian suddenly understood Mo Ting's intention. Previously, Feng Jing had used her to play the pitiful card, but she didn't respond. So, this time, when Feng Jing was filled with anticipation for the Fei Tian Awards, her own daughter ended up receiving it on behalf of someone else. She definitely didn't feel good about it. "Thank you, President Mo. I really like it." After working with Tongning for so long, it was inevitable for her to learn a little bit of black-bellied. Yet, Mo Ting made such a direct arrangement. It was obvious how scary he was. That's good. The Fei Tian Awards was one of the most prestigious awards in the country. If Tongning publicly looked down on it, people would definitely talk about it. So, as Tongning's manager and the CEO of Hai Rui, he naturally had to make things work for both parties. Since Tongning didn't want to attend, she naturally wouldn't allow her subordinates to receive the Fei Tian Awards on her behalf. Coincidentally, Tongning could use her pregnancy as an excuse. Afterwards, Mo Ting explained everything to Tongning. As expected, Tongning did not object. "You're the smartest. You already guessed that not only would I not object to letting Lin Qian go, I would be extremely supportive. Are you satisfied?" Mo Ting hugged his wife as he placed his hand on her stomach. "What do you mean?" Tongning blinked at him. Mo Ting's gaze darkened. It was too late for Tongning to run away. A moment later, Mo Ting lifted her in his arms and rushed towards the bedroom. "The danger has passed. Now it's time for you to make it up to me." Afterwards, Tongning thought to herself, was she asking for trouble? Meanwhile, as Feng Jing watched Luo Yinghong's rise, she had no choice but to encourage her son to persuade his mother. She had promised Luo Yinghong's son that if he could convince Luo Yinghong to give up on her comeback, she would consider marrying him. Luo Yinghong's son didn't know what possessed him, but he ended up finding his mother's new home. As it had already been exposed online, it wasn't difficult to find it. Unfortunately, Luo Yinghong's attitude towards her son had become extremely cold. She remembered what Tongning had previously told her. "Mom, I told you a long time ago that we broke off our relationship as mother and son. You go your own way and I'll go mine," Luo Yinghong replied straightforwardly. "Although I admit that you're a little popular now, you're still far from Feng Jing's. You should be helping your son. She's already agreed to marry me, as long as you don't cause trouble for her," the tall man said as he looked left and right. From time to time, he would ruin his mother's handiwork. Luo Yinghong glanced at her son without replying. After a few seconds, she finally gave the security a phone call. Someone is causing trouble here. Can you please come over? As soon as Luo Yinghong's son saw this, he glared at her angrily. I'm your biological son. How could you treat me like this? You still remember that you're my biological son. Yet you're with my enemy, Luo Yinghong retorted. Luo Yinghong retorted, stop wasting your time here. What happened between you and Feng Jing has nothing to do with me. Before I expose your scandal to the public, show me some respect. Otherwise, you won't be able to continue living in Beijing. The tall man was so angry that his face turned green. He never expected that Luo Yinghong would be so stubborn this time. He thought that everything Luo Yinghong did was to get him back as her son. But he never expected that the Luo Yinghong he saw was actually trying to live her own life. He suddenly began to panic. Soon, the security guards entered Luo Yinghong's home. Luo Yinghong pointed to her son and said, next time you see him, don't let him in. Okay. Ms. Luo, the security guard stepped forward and held the tall man back. Also, make him pay some money before you let him go, Luo Yinghong said before she returned to her room without looking at her son. Tongning had instructed her not to be soft-hearted towards her son and not to make eye contact with him. If they looked at each other, she would reveal her emotions and everything would be for naught. As expected, although Luo Yinghong's son was angry, he looked at her in a different light. At least, in his heart, the mother that once swallowed her anger had disappeared. Afterwards, Luo Yinghong told Lin Qian about the incident. This made Lin Qian feel even more guilty. Hongjie, don't worry. I'll get revenge for you very soon. Luo Yinghong smiled and shook her head. I'm not telling you this because I want you to make it up to me. I know that you're also the one that got hurt. I simply want you to know what evil things Feng Jing has done this time. Don't worry. Her good days have already come to an end. As a result, Lin Qian felt that she had a huge responsibility at the Fei Tian Awards. After all, she was representing Tongning, the legendary Tongning. Not only did she have to give Luo Shang encouragement and set a good example, she also had to teach Feng Jing a lesson and get revenge for Luo Yinghong. Most importantly, she had to draw a line between herself and Feng Jing. Chapter 937. At the Fei Tian Awards ceremony, Tongning asked Lin Qian and Luo Shang to walk the red carpet together. On the surface, Lin Qian appeared to be supporting Luo Shang on behalf of Superstar Media. But, in reality, Lin Qian was there to receive an award on Tongning's behalf. Superstar Media gathered on the red carpet. Lin Qian noticed that Luo Shang was friends with quite a few people in the industry and was happy that he had matured. In Superstar Media, Luo Shang was the youngest, but he had experienced the fickleness of human nature and it wasn't easy for him to get to where he was today. So, he treasured everything that he had. President Huang, who shook hands with me just a moment ago, offered me an astronomical amount to join his agency, Luo Shang said to Lin Qian as they walked down the red carpet. Lin Qian was a little surprised as she turned to look at the popular little heavenly king and watched as he smiled at her. But, I rejected him because I don't want to become a second Xia Hanmo. As a man, Luo Shang would always remember the hope that Tongning had given him. Even if he met the woman he liked and ended up going against Tongning, he would never betray Tongning and Superstar Media. We are a big family. Lin Qian nodded her head and smiled at Luo Shang. Don't worry, Superstar Media may not give you the best, but we are willing to do our best for you. When you are at your lowest point, we will help you find a way out, and when you are at your most glorious, we will applaud you wholeheartedly. As they walked down the glittering red carpet, Luo Shang looked at Lin Qian and revealed his brightest smile. After all, joining Superstar Media was the best decision he had ever made. It didn't take long before the two women entered the venue. But, before the awards ceremony started, Feng Jing spotted Lin Qian sitting in the front row. So, she deliberately switched seats and sat beside her. I never expected to see you here. Unfortunately, there aren't any seats for assistants and managers. Lin Qian couldn't be bothered to speak to Feng Jing. Since you're already able to make an appearance in front of so many big events, why bother with an old woman? You can debut on your own. After hearing this, Lin Qian looked at Feng Jing coldly. Don't worry. I'm not like you who only knows how to steal other people's achievements. Feng Jing's expression turned cold as she turned to look at Luo Shang. Actually, you're just like me. You like to eat from the bowl and look at the pot. After Lin Qian understood what Feng Jing was trying to say, a look of annoyance appeared in her eyes. I'm not as dirty as you. By the way, go back to your original position. I don't want to see you for another second. After hearing this, Feng Jing reached out her hand to comb Lin Qian's hair. We are mother and daughter. Don't be so heartless every time you see me. The heartless things are yet to come. Feng Jing returned to her seat and glared hatefully at Lin Qian's back. What was a manager so proud of? Was the woman that you were talking to just now the one that's been on the news? Luo Shang asked as soon as Feng Jing left. Yeah. Lin Qian nodded. Just pretend she doesn't exist. Don't waste your time on her. Luo Shang turned around and glanced at Feng Jing before he nodded his head. You don't look like a good person. After hearing this, Lin Qian did not react in the slightest. After all, the show was about to start soon. 8 p.m., the awards ceremony officially began. The host was still the same as before, but this time, Tongning did not appear on stage. According to tradition, the Fei Tian Awards' first award was for newcomers. Luo Shang successfully won the Best Newcomer Award and the Most Promising Newcomer Award. This was the first time Tongning's artist had won a mainstream award since the establishment of Superstar Media. It was a great victory for Superstar Media. As the spotlight shone on Luo Shang, Lin Qian couldn't help but cheer for him. After all, she knew how much Luo Shang had sacrificed to get to where he was today. Afterwards, Luo Shang went on stage and received his trophy from the guest presenter. He then excitedly stood in front of the microphone. First, he raised the trophy high up in the air to express his gratitude to everyone. Then, he began to give his acceptance speech. In the past 2 years, I've been through a lot. I'm really nervous to be able to stand on this stage. After speaking, Luo Shang turned around, wiped his tears away and returned to the stage. I must thank my management agency, Superstar Media, for being able to receive the first important award in my life. A long time ago, I thought I was a singing genius, but I didn't understand why Ning Jie wanted me to act. I once doubted myself, but in the end, I finally understood Ning Jie's good intentions. She was the one who discovered my potential and told me that, whether it was singing or acting, as long as I was willing to work hard, I would be rewarded. I love Superstar Media and I love the family that has protected me as I grew up. At the same time, I want to tell all the agencies that tried to poach me that I will not leave Superstar Media. Thank you for your support. As a person, it is important to be grateful. That is the only way to go further. I hope my management agency and I continue to get better. Thank you, Ning Jie. Thank you to my family and thank you to all my fans. A large part of Luo Shang's words were directed at Xia Hanmo. The reason why he chose a place like this to say these words was because he wasn't afraid of offending anyone. He simply wanted to live and die with Superstar Media. As she sat in front of the TV and watched the live broadcast, Tongning lowered her head and smiled gently. She felt like all her hard work hadn't gone to waste. Although there were people like Xia Hanmo in this world, as long as one had a heart and was grateful, they would be like Luo Shang. Even if they had to fight against the entire world, they still wanted to be Superstar Media's most adorable artist. Ting sat beside Tongning and patted her on the head as he watched. Luo Shang, I don't plan to let him join Hai Rui. Huh? Tongning looked at Ting confusedly. What's wrong? Even Xinglan's contract will be transferred back to Superstar Media, Ting said. I know that they can only truly become Superstar Media if they join Superstar Media. As for me, I only need you. As long as I'm at Hai Rui, Superstar Media won't be able to escape from your grasp. You've already calculated everything. Tongning laughed. Thank you, Ting. Ting looked at Tongning gently as he patted her on the head. If you really want to thank me, then you should take care of your own body. I understand. Let's continue watching the live broadcast. The awards continued to be handed out. Afterwards, it was time for Survivor to shine. The director had won a few awards, so he had gained quite a lot this time. This was all because he believed in Tongning. He was even more certain that Tongning was his lucky star. Chapter 938. Afterwards, the climax of the awards ceremony arrived. The Best Actor and Actress Awards. This time, because Tongning wasn't present, the other 4 nominees thought they still had a chance. Especially Feng Jing. After the host announced the guest presenter, Lin Qian turned around and looked at Feng Jing. She clenched her fists tightly. It seemed she was extremely nervous. However, Lin Qian calmly turned her head around with a sneer on her face. Soon, the nominees' works appeared on the screen. When a clip of Tongning's film, Survivor, appeared, everyone erupted in applause. They knew deep down that even though Tongning was no longer in the industry, the works that she created were eternal and irreplaceable. It was obvious that Survivor was too outstanding. Tongning's character was made of flesh and blood. So, even though the lights flickered on the nominees, in the end, the winner was still the absent Tongning. As soon as her photo appeared on the big screen, everyone screamed in excitement. A moment later, the guest presenter announced for the winner to go up on stage to receive her award. Everyone was confused. Could it be that Tongning had come to the venue? But, as soon as Lin Qian stood up from her seat, everyone realized that she had asked her assistant to receive her award on her behalf. How could she not attend such an important event? How willful! Feng Jing watched as Lin Qian walked up to the stage. She watched as her daughter received the award she wanted on behalf of someone else. Lin Qian understood the anger in Feng Jing's heart, but this was exactly what she wanted. Of course, as the person receiving the award, she wouldn't steal the spotlight. After receiving the award from the guest presenter, she walked over to the microphone and bowed to everyone. She then explained, "I am Tongning's assistant and I am here to receive this award on her behalf. The reason why she isn't here today is because she is currently pregnant, so it isn't convenient for her to be here." That's right, she's pregnant again. Tongning has already announced her indefinite retreat from the industry, but she is still grateful for the award. At the moment, she has no plans to make a comeback. Thank you for everyone's support and concern for her. Lastly, I would like to use the stage of the Fei Tian Awards to say a few words that I would like to convey. Originally, I didn't think that I belonged to the industry, but recently, a piece of news pulled me into this circle and disrupted my peaceful life. It has to do with my relationship with actress Feng Jing. Since she's here today, I might as well explain everything to her. We have nothing to do with each other. Whether we are related by blood or not, whether or not we come from the same gene, in my heart, I am an orphan and I will always be an orphan. Plus, I am simply a behind-the-scenes worker. I have no intention of creating hype or debuting. I am a part of Superstar Media and a part of Hai Rui. I will always follow my artist and hope that the rumors will stop. Thank you. It was obvious from Lin Qian's words that she had no intention of admitting to her relationship with Feng Jing. If Lin Qian had said this in private, Feng Jing wouldn't have taken it to heart. But Lin Qian said that she didn't have a mother in front of so many people. This meant that she was serious and had no intention of returning to Feng Jing's side. Below the stage, Feng Jing was about to go crazy from anger. Not only did Lin Qian take away her award, she even told everyone that she wouldn't acknowledge her as her mother. This humiliation was like 1,000 arrows piercing through her heart. After speaking, Lin Qian walked off the stage with the award in her hands. This caused the people on stage to fall into an awkward silence. After all, Feng Jing was present. Wasn't Lin Qian giving her mother a slap in the face? But there were also plenty of people that understood Lin Qian. After all, everyone knew that Feng Jing had done a lot of disgusting things behind her back to get to where she was today. Since Lin Qian was a part of Superstar Media, it was only natural that she wouldn't acknowledge her. After all, the people at Superstar Media were all righteous people. Actually, everyone has the right to make their own choices. As long as they are willing to take responsibility for their own choices, we will give Miss Lin our blessings. After speaking, the host continued to present the rest of the awards. But this was no longer important to Lin Qian and Feng Jing. As Lin Qian returned to her seat, Luo Shang turned to look at her and said, "You looked really handsome on stage just now." After speaking, Luo Sheng gave her a thumbs up. That woman is probably going to go crazy from anger. Lin Qian turned her head slightly and glanced into the distance. She was extremely satisfied with this moment. She just didn't want Feng Jing to have an easy time. The climax of the entire award ceremony was probably when Lin Qian stepped onto the stage for Tongning. Because these simple words actually contained a lot of meaning. To say the least, there was an undercurrent between Lin Qian and Feng Jing. After 2 hours, the awards ceremony finally came to an end. The crew of Survivor was, of course, the biggest winner. They won Best Actress, Best Director, Best Screenplay, and many other important awards. As for Tongning, she also won Best Actress for the second time in a row. This was her ability. This was something that no one doubted. Afterwards, Luo Shang and Lin Qian left the venue together. However, halfway out they were stopped by Feng Jing. "Miss Lin, don't you think you've gone too far?" Feng Jing asked as she looked at the trophy in Lin Qian's hands. "Even if you don't admit it, I carried you for 10 months and gave birth to you. You and I have an inseparable blood relationship. Did you have to be so heartless?" After hearing Feng Jing's emotional words, Lin Qian remained calm. She simply lifted her head and looked at Luo Shang. "Let's go." However, Feng Jing grabbed onto Lin Qian, but Luo Shang quickly pushed her away. "Show some respect. Don't get touchy. Superstar media isn't someone you can touch." It wasn't easy for Feng Jing to regain her footing, but she still had to take care of her image. "Young people, don't be so hot-tempered." Lin Qian and Luo Shang completely ignored her as they continued to walk away, completely treating her like air. Only Feng Jing understood how much damage Lin Qian's words had caused her. After all, the public were already guessing why Lin Qian would rather die than admit that she was her mother. If Feng Jing's acting was true and she had been painstakingly protecting her daughter all along, Lin Qian wouldn't have hated her so much. "Jingjie, let's go home first and discuss this further," Feng Jing's manager said. "Superstar media isn't giving me an easy time." Chapter 939. After the Fei Tian Awards, Lin Qian's wedding date was officially set. In case anything unexpected happened, Mother Li arranged for Lin Qian and Li Jin's wedding to be held 3 weeks later. She sincerely supported Lin Qian's attitude towards Feng Jing, especially after seeing how firmly Lin Qian drew a line with Feng Jing on television. Mother Li knew that Lin Qian would never forgive or acknowledge Feng Jing. After hearing about the wedding date, Lin Qian only had one question for Mother Li. "I'm not sure if Li Jin will be at home on that day." "Silly child, since I've made this arrangement, I've obviously discussed it with Jean Eyre. When the time comes, you simply need to be the most beautiful bride." "But we haven't even picked out a dress yet." After hearing this, Mother Li let out a gentle laugh and held onto Lin Qian's hand. "Jean Eyre has already found someone to make a dress for you. He even hired a weapons engineer from the military base to design your sword and personally participated in the process. But he doesn't know my size." At this point, Mother Li scanned Lin Qian from head to toe and laughed. "What part of your body do you think he doesn't know?" After hearing this, Lin Qian's face turned red. Qian, it's impossible for us to share the burden of what you've been through. But I think arranging for you and Jean Eyre to get married right now is the best way to support you." After hearing this, Lin Qian immediately hugged Mother Li. "Auntie, thank you. Thank you and Uncle for treating me like your own daughter and treating me so well. Soon you will be our daughter-in-law. Helping Jean Eyre protect you is the only thing we can do for him." After speaking, Mother Li gently patted Lin Qian's back comfortingly. She couldn't help but sigh at how kind and strong she was. Lin Qian leaned into Mother Li's embrace, feeling like she was in Li Jin's embrace. At this moment, she repeatedly reminded herself that no matter what happened, she would continue to be strong. It didn't take long before Lin Qian told Tongning about her wedding because she needed to arrange her vacation. Most importantly, Tongning was currently pregnant and Long Jie needed to take care of Luo Sheng. If that happened, who would take care of Luo Yinghong? "Don't worry and go get married. You can also take the opportunity to have a nice honeymoon. As for Hong Jie, I'll take care of it." Afterwards, Tongning picked up a document from her desk and handed it to Lin Qian. "Since you don't have a family, Superstar Media will be your family. I can't let you marry them with nothing. Puzzled, Lin Qian opened the folder and discovered that it contained Superstar Media's share transfer agreement. Ning Jie, this gift is too expensive. You will be an employee of Superstar Media for the rest of your life. With this document, you will have to work for Superstar Media for the rest of your life. Take it. Lin Qian held onto the agreement and nodded her head. She knew, in front of Tongning, there was no point in being unreasonable. I will remember this kindness, Lin Qian said as she pointed to her heart. Her words sounded like she was making a vow. Tongning shook her head, indicating that there was no need for her to remember. After all, the two of them were already family. This was how they treated their loved ones. Soon, Saint Emperor Jewelry announced their collaboration with Luo Yinghong. In fact, they also announced that Luo Yinghong would be their new spokesperson. As soon as this news was released, everyone was shocked. No one expected that Luo Yinghong, who had been trying her best to live a good life, would be able to secure a spokesperson so quickly. Furthermore, it was for the famous jewelry brand Saint Emperor. Originally, this wasn't something that many people had high hopes for. But because Tongning had previously laid the groundwork for Luo Yinghong and they knew that she was very capable, coupled with the fact that many people had seen her work before, the public completely accepted Luo Yinghong's endorsement. They felt that Luo Yinghong was extremely compatible with the concept of an original design. Especially when the Sage Emperor posted a design of Luo Yinghong's at the bottom of the blog, everyone immediately acknowledged Luo Yinghong's identity as the spokesperson. They all felt that her new and elegant aura was too similar to the Sage Emperor's. Even Luo Yinghong herself was in disbelief. How was this possible? Below Saint Emperor Jewelry, there were all expectant comments. How was there no insults or attacks? Luo Yinghong thought back to the course that Tongning had arranged for her and the path of her comeback. She realized that every step was planned out by Tongning and everything was useful. Tongning never made any useless arrangements. At this moment, Luo Yinghong finally understood what it meant to be powerful. Luo Yinghong never imagined that she would receive such a top-notch endorsement. Only after Saint Emperor made an official announcement did she realize that it was real. But the step that Luo Yinghong took did not come into contact with Feng Jing in any way. This was the only way that Feng Jing would have no reason to frame an artist that wasn't her competitor. Not long after, Tongning secured an important interview for Luo Yinghong. To prevent any accidents from happening, Tongning allowed the reporter to enter Superstar Media to interview Luo Yinghong. The public were extremely curious about Superstar Media, so they naturally looked forward to Luo Yinghong's interview. Meanwhile, Feng Jing saw everything that Luo Yinghong did, but she couldn't do anything about it. After all, she couldn't find a single flaw in Luo Yinghong. After all, Luo Yinghong was flawless. What should I do? Do you want me to watch as that slut becomes more and more popular? Seeing Feng Jing throw a tantrum, her manager had no choice but to comfort her. Even if she successfully makes a comeback, she still won't be a match for you. You don't need to worry. How could I not worry? What if one day, that slut becomes more popular than I am? If that happens, wouldn't I just let her bully me? No, I won't allow that to happen. But what else can we do? Her manager sighed helplessly. Feng Jing lowered her head in thought. After a moment, she looked at her manager and said, I have no other choice. I can only use that slut's son. Are you saying? At this moment, Feng Jing's gaze was extremely sharp. When it came to fighting against Tongning, she could only retreat step by step. She had no other choice. Afterwards, Feng Jing pulled her manager over. There's something I need to tell you. Get someone to do it immediately. As soon as the manager heard this, she nodded her head. Okay, I know what to do. Feng Jing refused to believe that Luo Yinghong would actually disregard her son. She sounded so cool, but in reality, she was just pretending to have a heart of stone. Let's wait and see. At this time, Luo Yinghong was sitting in her office looking at the interview when she suddenly received a phone call from her son. Mom, come and save me. Chapter 940. As soon as Luo Yinghong heard this phone call, her heart burned with anxiety. She immediately stood up from her chair and asked for her son's whereabouts. The person on the other end of the phone mumbled an address and hung up. Luo Yinghong immediately looked up the address and discovered that her son was currently at a famous nightclub in Beijing. In a place like that, it was easy to be schemed against and fall into someone else's trap. With this thought, Luo Yinghong immediately turned to leave. But Tongning stopped her. "Hongjie, what happened? Why are you in such a hurry?" "Tongning, I don't have time to explain. I need to go out for a bit." "Wait." Tongning held onto Luo Yinghong's hand. "Hongjie, this is an important time for you. I'm sure you know that Feng Jing could trip you up at any time. You need to explain yourself. It won't take up a single minute." After hearing Tongning's words, Luo Yinghong calmed down and grabbed onto Tongning's hand. "I just received a phone call from my son. He's currently at the Sound of Night." Tongning immediately instructed her secretary to look into it. Without hesitation, the secretary replied, "President Tang, that's a famous nightclub in Beijing. My son is calling for help." "Since your son is calling for help, there's nothing you can do even if you go on your own. By the way, Hongjie, have you ever thought about the fact that if you really go, your reputation will be ruined regardless of whether your son is there or not? Especially if Feng Jing abandons your son, what will the rumors say about you and your son?" After hearing this, Luo Yinghong froze. "That's right. Feng Jing. All of this could be Feng Jing's doing. Don't worry. I'll get my secretary to contact the police and get them to handle this matter." Luo Yinghong nodded her head. She was now certain that this was a trap that Feng Jing had set up. Luo Yinghong gradually calmed down. But this also made Tongning realize that no matter how many vows Luo Yinghong made and how much she wanted to grow, the most important thing in her heart was still her son. Feng Jing's simple test was enough to make her panic. From the looks of it, helping Luo Yinghong get her son back was the most important thing. Soon, the police reported that Luo Yinghong's son was fine. He was simply drunk and acting crazy. The police asked him a few questions and let him continue drinking. Luo Yinghong sighed as she thought about it. If Feng Jing had gotten her way and lured her to a nightclub, who knew what would have happened? With this thought, Tongning suddenly turned to her secretary and instructed, "Head over right now and find the reliable bartender at the nightclub. Grab Hong Jie's son's phone and give Feng Jing a phone call. Tell him Hong Jie's son is in trouble and tell Feng Jing to hurry over. Otherwise, the photos on his phone will be leaked." "I understand, President Tang. Since Feng Jing wanted to play this game, it was perfect. Don't be in such a rush to leave. When Feng Jing arrives, take a photo of her. There's no need to announce it, I have a use for it." "Yes." The secretary quickly left the office. Meanwhile, Luo Yinghong had no idea what her mother was up to. All she wanted to do was confirm that her son was fine before she sat back down and focused on her work. As Tongning watched Luo Yinghong leave, she suddenly felt that as a mother, she was quite pitiful. She had been bullied by Feng Jing for so many years, yet she had no way to retaliate. Worst of all, Feng Jing had a sharp weapon in her hands that could pierce through Luo Yinghong's heart at any time. So, if Luo Yinghong wanted to be freed from her past, she needed to make sure that Feng Jing had no weapon that could threaten her. Feng Jing had no idea that Tongning had already reshuffled the chessboard, nor did she expect that Tongning would play along with her plan. So, when she received a phone call from the bartender, she wasn't stupid enough to head over to the nightclub. But when she heard from the bartender that the idiot had a photo of them on his phone, everything changed. If these photos were to be leaked, her reputation would definitely be destroyed. The bartender asked her for some hush money. It wasn't too much and was within Feng Jing's acceptable range. But there was one condition: she had to personally pick up Luo Yinghong. After all, there were too many people at a nightclub, so she didn't trust anyone else. Plus, her manager was currently in a negotiation and had no time to spare. It didn't take long before Feng Jing arrived at the nightclub. After putting on a disguise, not many people recognized her. Originally, she wanted to lure Luo Yinghong to a nightclub so she could slander her. But who would have thought she ended up being lured here and was forced to make a deal? After picking up Luo Yinghong, Feng Jing felt something wasn't right, especially when she noticed the smile on the bartender's face. So, Feng Jing quickly left the nightclub with Luo Yinghong's son. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have asked the bartender to make him drink so much. Afterwards, Tongning's secretary returned to Superstar Media with the evidence and photos. President Tang, everything went smoothly. Feng Jing was worried that the photos would be leaked, so she had no time to suspect anything. Even if she suspects now, it's too late. Tongning looked at the photos. Although Feng Jing had disguised herself well, there were still photos of her up close, especially when she was helping Hong Jie's son out of the nightclub. With this, Feng Jing will have to obediently return him to me. Send a few photos to Feng Jing. Okay. The secretary was very smart and knew what was important. She knew what Tongning needed to do, so she quickly completed the task. Feng Jing never imagined that, after scheming her entire life, she would fall into someone else's trap so easily. When it came to scheming, she wasn't even 10% as good as Tongning. But Tongning never used her schemes on innocent people. What she believed in and insisted on was an eye for an eye. She never took the initiative to cause trouble, but she was never afraid of trouble. Soon, Feng Jing received Tongning's gift. After opening the envelope, she looked at the photos inside in shock. Who is this? Who took these photos? The first person she thought of was Luo Yinghong. Although she didn't think Luo Yinghong was smart enough to do something like this, she still had Tongning, who in Beijing didn't know how scary Tongning was. So, she directly gave Luo Yinghong a phone call. Slut, are you going to ignore your son just to deal with me? Luo Yinghong looked at her phone confusedly and continued to listen. Tell me, what do you want? Be straightforward. Luo Yinghong had no idea what Feng Jing was saying, but she could roughly guess what she was trying to say. So, she directly hung up the phone and told Tongning about the phone call that Feng Jing had just given her. As soon as Tongning heard about it, she laughed. Hong Jie, stay calm. Feng Jing is about to lose her trump card against you. Chapter 941. Afterwards, Tongning told Luo Yinghong everything that she had instructed her secretary to do. After hearing everything, Luo Yinghong couldn't help but be impressed by Tongning's wisdom. After all, how could a normal person think of taking advantage of an existing trap? But Tongning did what she did, and the results were miraculous. Regardless of everything else, they now had something on Feng Jing. From now on, Luo Yinghong no longer had to face Feng Jing passively. It didn't take long before Feng Jing found her way to the entrance of Superstar Media. Of course, Tongning wasn't going to let her in so easily. So, she made her wait outside for a few hours before she asked her secretary to leave. Feng Jing scanned Superstar Media's surroundings and scoffed. She then said to her secretary, I think you should ask President Tang to come out. I'm sorry, Ms. Feng, but President Tang is currently resting. It's not convenient for him to receive guests, the secretary replied patiently. What about Luo Yinghong? Tell her to come out and see me. I'm sorry, Ms. Feng. You need to make an appointment to see Hong Jie. After hearing this, Feng Jing's chest heaved up and down. She was obviously furious. After all, she was quite popular in the entertainment industry, and no one had ever treated her with such disrespect like Superstar Media. Your President Tang sure has a lot of face, the secretary smiled. Just as she was about to leave, Feng Jing grabbed onto her wrist. Don't tell me that Superstar Media deliberately thought of this to humiliate me. Ms. Feng, please show some respect, the secretary warned. Feng Jing held onto the secretary and glared at her coldly as she threatened, You will eventually get off work. When that time comes, I'll deal with you. The secretary glared at Feng Jing before she freed herself from Feng Jing's grip and walked out of the room. A moment later, Tongning and the secretary entered the room together. Feng Jie, it's fine that you came to Superstar Media, but why did you have to threaten my secretary? Tongning asked. Feng Jing looked at Tongning with a cold and disgusted expression. Tongning, don't you think your methods are a little too despicable? Feng Jie, why don't you get straight to the point? Tongning sat down in her chair without even asking her secretary to prepare a cup of tea for her. Photos. After hearing these two words, Tongning lowered her head in silence for 2 seconds. She then lifted her head and smiled at Feng Jing. So that's what you're here for? After a short pause, Tongning continued, Since you know I have something on you, do you think it's appropriate for you to act so arrogantly? What do you want? Feng Jing gritted her teeth as she pointed at Tongning. The simple. Break up with Sister Hong's son and never contact him again. Otherwise, I'll see you on the headlines. You need to understand that her son is the one clinging to me, not the other way around. Feng Jing sneered. What? You don't believe we're true love? Although I feel sorry for stealing Luo Yinghong's son, don't you think you've gone too far by breaking someone up like this? Tongning couldn't be bothered talking to Feng Jing, so she turned around and said to her secretary, prepare to release the photos to the media. Tongning, don't push me too far. Since when did an outsider like you have the right to interfere with the grudge between me and Luo Yinghong? I love it when you push me too far. Release him. Tongning ordered her secretary. Seeing that Tongning was difficult to talk to, Feng Jing softened her attitude and retracted her aura. Tongning, we are both women and our lives are not easy. Why must you make things difficult for me? Since that's the case, why did you steal someone's career and then steal their son? After speaking, Tongning turned around. Since you won't give up, then I have no choice but to release the photos. Did you think you could bully my artist? Even if she is my secretary, you can't bully her. Because, from today onwards, I plan to give my secretary 2 bodyguards. Do you want to cause trouble for her? Bring it on. After speaking, Tongning prepared to leave the room. At this time, Feng Jing held back her anger and said, I promise you that I'll break up with her son. That way you'll give me the photos, right? That depends on your sincerity. Everyone knew that Tongning was difficult to deal with. She didn't give in to persuasion or force. Neither did she give in to the authorities. She had her own way of doing things. So, no matter what, Feng Jing's only option was to break up with Luo Yinghong's son, no matter what tricks she had up her sleeves. Plus, if Hong Jie's son misunderstands that Hong Jie is the culprit, then I will distribute the photos to the media as well. In fact, I will give everyone a copy. After saying this, Tongning left the reception room without hesitation. This completely destroyed Feng Jing's last bit of hope. She thought she could use this opportunity to make Luo Yinghong lose her son for good. But how could Tongning not know what she was thinking? Feng Jing was no match for Tongning. Time and time again, she was forced into a corner. Especially this time, she had no choice but to sacrifice the rook to save the king. So, Feng Jing hated Tongning and hated Luo Yinghong more than she hated Luo Yinghong. After leaving the room, Feng Jing's secretary looked at Tongning with anticipation. President Tang, are you really going to give me bodyguards? Yes, I'm thinking about it, Tongning nodded. Feng Jing's secretary had done a lot for her. Although it was a little exaggerated, Tongning still wanted to protect someone who had done so much for her. Thank you, President Tang. That way, I won't have to be afraid anymore. Tongning smiled and returned to her office. But when it came to Feng Jing, there was no way she was going to let her off so easily. This matter involved Luo Yinghong and Lin Qian. Only when she completely subdued this jerk would she truly be at ease. Afterwards, Luo Yinghong heard about the negotiation between Tongning and Feng Jing. Of course, she wasn't worried that Feng Jing would bully Tongning because Tongning was powerful enough. So, the only thing she needed to do now was wait for her son to return home. Hong Jie, you need to remember, even if your son returns, you can't forgive him immediately. He'll suspect that you're playing a trick to break him and Feng Jing apart. You need to keep him in the cold and hang him in suspense until he returns to Feng Jing. He needs to be completely hurt by Feng Jing, otherwise, he'll still end up getting involved with her. After hearing this, Luo Yinghong held back her pain and nodded her head. Tongning's words made sense. You can't let Feng Jing do a single thing that she wants you to do. I understand. Luo Yinghong nodded her head in seriousness. Hold on a little longer. Your son will definitely return to your side. Luo Yinghong had every reason to believe that Tongning's promises would come true. So, she continued to focus on her work and put her all into the collaboration with Saint's jewelry. I will prepare for the interview and work hard to rebuild my life. Chapter 942. Feng Jing couldn't accept it. Previously, she couldn't use Lin Qian, and now, she lost Luo Yinghong's son. It seemed, as long as superstar media was involved, she had no way of resisting. However, it wasn't easy for her to chase the childish man away. If she didn't have to deal with Luo Yinghong, she wouldn't have gone looking for a man that was so much younger than her. Not only did he know how to spend money, he also had a bunch of bad habits. She had no desire to serve him, let alone take such a big risk. Jingjie, if you chase Xiao Ku away, will Tongning really give you the photo? What else can I do? Feng Jing asked as she took a sip of wine. I'm like meat on someone's chopping block. What else can I do? I no longer have anything that I can use against Luo Yinghong. From now on, I can only wait to be trampled on by Tongning. Seeing Feng Jing's depressed expression, the manager also felt that Tongning was too difficult to deal with. Without batting an eyelid, she slowly advanced, took away someone's weapon and forced them into a corner. Her ability was too scary. By the way, Jingjie, I received news that Lin Qian is getting married soon. The date is coming up. Will you be attending? Getting married? As soon as she heard about Lin Qian's wedding, Feng Jing sneered. Her mother is already suffering. Yet she's still dreaming about happiness? She must be dreaming. Since she made things difficult for me at the Fei Tian Awards, shouldn't I no longer hold back? Feng Jing finished the glass of red wine in one gulp. Help me prepare something. As her mother, I'm showing my sincerity by giving her a dowry. I can't wait to see how happy she is going to be. Feng Jing's manager looked at Feng Jing and sighed. Recently, Feng Jing hadn't been doing well. Plus, she even tried to frame her own daughter. Wasn't she afraid that the fact that she abandoned her daughter would be found out? Even so, the manager still did as she was told. After all, she had been by Feng Jing's side for so many years. As Tongning expected, after being abandoned by Feng Jing, Luo Yinghong's son found his way to Luo Yinghong's home. However, he was unable to enter because Luo Yinghong had instructed the security to stop him from disturbing her the next time he saw her. Soon, Luo Yinghong returned to the apartment. As soon as she saw her son, she pretended to be cold. What are you doing here again? Mom, I feel terrible. I have nowhere else to go. What? Feng Jing wants to break up with me. The 22-year-old man cried like a child. His words struck Luo Yinghong's heart, but she held it in. What does it have to do with me that she wants to break up with you? Don't forget, you were the one that abandoned me to chase after your true love. Now I no longer welcome you here. After speaking, Luo Yinghong turned around without giving her son a chance to plead. Mom, you really don't care about me. Let's talk about this again when you can tell right from wrong. After speaking, Luo Yinghong stepped into the elevator and disappeared from her son's sight. The reason why she was able to harden her heart was because she had suffered a lot over the years. Just like Tongning said, if she didn't teach the jerk a lesson now, she would never be able to save him in the future. And love, it just so happened that it allowed people to grow up quickly. It didn't take long before Luo Yinghong accepted an interview from a well-known media outlet. The public was very interested in her comeback and rise. In particular, they wanted to know how she moved Tongning to the point that she was willing to take such a huge risk to sign her. During the interview, Luo Yinghong wore a long white dress that made her look elegant and intelligent. With her fluffy hair and unique tattoo, the once self-abased Luo Yinghong had now regained a lot of her confidence in front of the cameras. To be honest, I wrote a long letter to Tongning, Luo Yinghong replied embarrassedly. In that case, can you reveal what you wrote in the letter? I simply told her that I wanted to make a comeback and asked her if she had any way to turn my situation around. She wanted me to stand up again and work hard to continue living. I originally thought that there would be a lot of people contacting Tongning so she wouldn't notice me, but to my surprise, she was willing to sign me on. After signing with Superstar Media, from the time you've interacted with Tongning, what kind of person do you think she is? The reporter continued to ask. Luo Yinghong thought for a moment before she replied in seriousness. She is a person with great love and doesn't worry about the world. No matter what difficulties she faces, as long as she has made up her mind, she will do her best. She is that kind of person. Have you ever suspected that she might not be able to help you? At first, of course, I was suspicious. After all, look at my age and appearance. I have no advantages at all. That's why I feel that I'm lucky to have met Tongning today. Through Luo Yinghong's example, the public finally saw a powerful superstar media. As long as you went through Tongning's transformation, no matter how old you were or how flawed you were, you would still be able to shine and find your own crown. So, those that wanted to join superstar media kept coming. They all knew that after Tongning's transformation, they would be able to join Hai Rue, the ultimate sanctuary of the entertainment industry. After Saint's Jewelry, a lot of other big companies approached me to work with them. Actually, even if I don't become an artist, becoming a designer isn't a bad choice. Even Luo Yinghong managed to make such a beautiful turnaround. So, the public gave Tongning a nickname, Diamond Manager. Diamond and Ace were no longer enough to describe her ability and courage. Plus, her existence did cause a slight change in the entertainment industry. Even if those changes were minuscule, they were insignificant. But there were always people that believed in justice and fairness in the world. Of course, there were also people that were afraid that if the enemies that she had once harmed and robbed were to find Tongning, it would mean the end of their path to stardom. All in all, Tongning's name had the power to inspire fear and respect in the entertainment industry. Of course, Tongning's power also came from the fact that she had a strong backing. With Mo Ting's support, she could do whatever she wanted in the entertainment industry. Wasn't this couple like a king and queen? But Tongning didn't care about the nickname that the public gave her. Because her true career was the Ant Queen. Now that Feng Jing could no longer suppress Luo Yinghong, all that was left was for Luo Yinghong to get back at Feng Jing. But before that happened, it seemed, she first needed to tear apart the dowry that she had prepared for Lin Qian. Chapter 943. It seemed, Lin Qian had invited Tongning and Mo Ting to be her wedding witnesses. As soon as Mother Li found out about this, she personally gave Tongning a phone call. Ever since she decided to accept Lin Qian as her daughter-in-law, she had taken on the role of both her in-laws and her own family. As long as Lin Qian wanted something, she would do her best to satisfy it. Tongning and Mother Li, as soon as they started chatting, it didn't seem like they were meeting for the first time, because the two of them had a lot in common. But the one thing they had in common was that they were extremely protective of their own people. At Lin Qian's wedding, Tongning was determined to make it a grand event for her. The two chatted for an hour. If President Mo hadn't rushed her, Tongning would have continued chatting with Mother Li. In the dead of night, you tossed your husband aside to chat with an old woman. Have you considered my feelings? Huh? Tongning put down her phone and pounced into Mo Ting's arms. She felt his firm muscles. It's a pity we didn't meet sooner. So we chatted for a bit longer. Tongning was currently 4 months pregnant and her stomach was already bulging. Mo Ting didn't dare to hug her, so he simply let her lie on his body like a koala. Ting, I'm tired. Rest well if you're tired. Mo Ting said as he gently stroked her hair. Since you are pregnant, no matter what you want, everyone will satisfy you. What about you? Tongning lifted her head and looked at Mo Ting. I heard that Li Jin personally helped design Lin Qian's wedding dress. So I'm quite envious. You want it? Tongning nodded. In that case, I'll give it to you. Mo Ting said as he carried Tongning off the sofa and headed for the bedroom. Tongning was a little surprised before she realized what Mo Ting meant by, you want it. This man was becoming more and more cunning. A moment later, Tongning was placed on the soft bed. President Mo immediately unbuttoned his shirt and lifted her chin. She was already used to seeing President Mo naked, so she no longer blushed. Instead, she revealed a look of infatuation. Even though he was 35 years old, he did not have a single trace of fat on his body. Instead, his skin was smooth to the touch. This was all thanks to his long-term training. A moment later, her pajamas were removed. As she was pregnant, she looked at Mo Ting helplessly. But before she could say a word, Mo Ting had already sealed her lips with a kiss. Her body temperature continued to rise. Tongning was like a boat drifting on the ocean. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't reach the shore. Only when that place was filled did she feel at ease and satisfied. The temperature in the bedroom continued to rise. Two perfect bodies intertwined with each other. No matter how much time had passed, their bodies and souls were still in perfect harmony. Afterwards, Tongning lay on Ting's chest and fell asleep. But the words she said just now had left an impression on Ting's heart. Then the man got up, put on a black robe, and went to take care of his two sons. As their wedding was a flash marriage, Ting was upset that he didn't give her a grand wedding. But he still believed that Tongning didn't like superficial things. She preferred him to dote on her, accompany her and take care of her for the rest of her life. No marriage could be replicated. Li Jin indeed loved Lin Qian wholeheartedly, but that didn't mean he had to do the same thing. He had his own way of loving Tongning. In reality, Tongning was just thinking about it. Although it was a pity that they didn't hold a wedding, she was indeed a mother of three, so she no longer cared about formalities. Above all, Ting would give her anything she wanted. Now he was helping her fulfill her dreams. With a man like this by her side, how could she not be satisfied? Even in her dreams, she worried that she had said the wrong thing. So, when she woke up, she looked for Ting, only to find him in the baby's room. Tongning ran over and hugged him as she buried her head in his back. When I woke up and didn't see you, I felt uneasy. Ting continued to coax the child as he allowed Tongning to hug him. A moment later, Ting finally turned around and asked, "What's wrong? Aren't you tired?" "I can still fight," Tongning mumbled from behind. After hearing this, Ting's lips slowly curved upwards. He had already done so much for her and had quietly contributed so much behind her back. So much that just thinking about it made her heart ache. "Be a good girl and go to sleep. I have an early scene tomorrow." No matter how bloody the outside world was, at least in this home, there would always be warmth. This was Tongning's way of loving her family. As the date of her wedding approached, Lin Qian went on a break and temporarily handed Luoyinghong's matters to Tongning. But ever since Luoyinghong's interview was successful, a lot of resources had been delivered to her. Tongning put aside the scripts because she didn't feel that Luoyinghong was suitable for acting. Plus, Luoyinghong was well aware of her own position. She preferred to participate in design and enjoy her freedom. So, she had no objections to Tongning helping her with her upcoming shows and designing collaborations. "You are currently qualified to work in the fashion industry. That's why I'm positioning you as a fashion guru." Luoyinghong did not doubt Tongning's judgment at all. After all, Tongning started her career as a model. In the past, she was only one step away from becoming an international supermodel. "Don't worry, I'm confident. Compared to acting, I'm more interested in this aspect. Most importantly, I can avoid that slut Feng Jing. I refuse to believe that she'll be able to steal my position this time." "That's good," Tongning smiled. "I looked at the time of Lin Qian's wedding. She's currently at work, so help me congratulate her on her behalf." "I will. Also, be careful of that bitch Feng Jing. She knows how to take revenge on her own daughter. That's what she's best at." Tongning looked at Luoyinghong, trying to reassure her. She already knew that if Feng Jing really came, she was going to make sure she didn't have a chance to recover. A week before the wedding, Lin Qian received her wedding dress. Although Li Jin wasn't by her side, she was still moved to see her in a wedding dress that her lover had personally designed. Tongning looked at Lin Qian's starry fishtail wedding dress and couldn't help but sigh. She was indeed getting married. "When is Li Jin coming back?" "Tonight," Lin Qian replied as she looked at herself in the mirror. "Is it okay? Even if it's not, you will still get married in it." Tongning humphed. "It's beautiful enough." It was rare for Lin Qian to reveal a sweet smile like this because she was truly happy. However, that night, Li Jin did not return home as promised. Mother Li was already used to it, so Lin Qian reminded herself to get used to it. Chapter 944. However, this wait went on for 4 to 5 days, and there was still no news from Li Jin. Lin Qian did not panic. She had reason to believe that as long as Li Jin made it back, he would crawl all the way to the wedding, even if he had to crawl. But if Li Jin didn't make it back, then she would complete the wedding on her own. After all, she and Li Jin were bound to be husband and wife. Sometimes, this child is so strong that it makes one's heart ache for her. Mother Li sighed as she watched Lin Qian busy herself with work. Old Li, get that bastard out of the base. He already has a family. Why is he still working so hard all day? Although you gave birth to our son, you probably don't know him as well as our daughter-in-law does. Father Li chuckled. You talk too much. Mother Li snorted coldly. Not long after, she received calls from her relatives and friends. They were all asking her if she knew about Lin Qian's background and if she had met her parents, making her look like a liar. At first, Mother Li didn't understand. But a while later, she received a phone call from Xinglan. Auntie, hurry and show Lin Qian the entertainment news. What's going on? The old couple quickly unlocked their phones and scrolled through the latest news, only to find a headline titled, Shocking. So this is Feng Jing's daughter's background. The news attracted everyone's attention. The old couple opened the news with a serious expression. The first scene they saw was a photo of Lin Qian as a child. She was holding a cigarette in her hand as she stood at the entrance of a bar. As Feng Jing had visited these gray areas after giving birth to Lin Qian, she was able to find photos of Lin Qian when she was young. It was just that Lin Qian had no memory of it. Now that Lin Qian was about to marry into a wealthy family, news like this broke out. It was inevitable for the public to suspect that Lin Qian had a dirty background. Even if she was Feng Jing's biological daughter, who knew what kind of environment she grew up in when she went missing and wasn't adopted? Therefore, Li Nanheng's mother understood what the relatives who had just called her meant. He was just indirectly telling her that with her background, she couldn't marry into the Li family. It would be embarrassing. Old Li, don't look at me. Leave the matters of the young to the young. In any case, I feel that my wife has a clear conscience. From start to finish, the old couple's heart ached for Lin Qian. But, of course, they weren't stupid enough to believe that a piece of news like this was a coincidence. However, it was not their place to interfere with the matters of the entertainment industry. They could only stand firm. It didn't take long before Lin Qian received news from Xinglan. She didn't need to think too deeply to know who was behind this. She wanted to go downstairs to explain to the old couple, but the two elders of the Li family didn't seem to care and pretended that nothing had happened. Not long after, Lin Qian received a phone call from Tongning. After the wedding, take good care of this old monster. In other words, Tongning was planning to reveal everything that Feng Jing had done after Lin Qian's wedding. Right now, the public is wondering if your wedding will go ahead. After all, such a big piece of news has been created and Li Jin has yet to make an appearance. You need to stay calm and do what you need to do. I know, Lin Qian replied confidently. Don't worry, I'll definitely help you take revenge. I'll make her pay you back with interest. But, without Li Jin by her side, she felt a little less confident. But, it didn't matter. Because she was already a soldier's wife, she couldn't lose her composure. Late at night, Li Jin drove out of the military base. But, on the way back, one of his subordinates asked, Chief, have you seen the news? Li Jin parked his car and turned on his phone. As soon as he saw the news about Lin Qian, his expression turned cold. Major General, sister-in-law must be sad to be home on her own. I owe her. After speaking, Li Jin put away his phone and ran back home. As soon as he returned home, Mother Li immediately ran over to greet him. What took you so long? I'm sorry, Mom. You're sorry, not me, but Qian. Hurry upstairs and check on her, Mother Li said as she pointed to Lin Qian upstairs. Li Jin nodded his head and quickly made his way upstairs to the bedroom. As soon as he saw Lin Qian packing her things, he immediately wrapped his arms around her and hugged her from behind. I'm sorry. I've never been able to protect you and made you suffer. Knowing that her man was home, Lin Qian relaxed and let out a sigh of relief. I'm not that weak. I will definitely make the person that humiliated you pay. After hearing this, Lin Qian couldn't help but laugh. Why did you say the same thing as Ning Jie? I'm angry. The pain that came from a biological mother wasn't something that an ordinary person could endure. What mother would throw mud at their own daughter? As long as you're back, nothing else matters. After saying this, Lin Qian turned around and hugged Li Jin. As long as you're safe. Li Jin lifted her in his arms and placed her on the bed before he kissed her. He missed Lin Qian too much. Qian Qian, Qian Qian. Lin Qian had no way of resisting Li Jin's cries. Soon, she was immersed in his passion and couldn't pull herself away. Perhaps, everyone felt that Lin Qian's scandal had completely embarrassed the Li family by being exposed to such an embarrassing scandal before their wedding. Feng Jing denied everything and even cried in front of the reporters. She claimed that she didn't take good care of her daughter and that's why she suffered. With the scandal being exposed before their wedding, I don't think Lin Qian will have a good life after marrying into the Li family. If the son of a wealthy family marries a wife like this, wouldn't he become a laughingstock in the industry? Perhaps, Lin Qian will be called off their engagement. Later that night, Li Jin saw these comments on his phone. He immediately let go of Lin Qian and grabbed his phone into the bathroom. On one hand, he blamed himself for not being able to protect Lin Qian. On the other hand, he hated Feng Jing. He needed to think of a solution once and for all. With this thought, Li Jin pulled out the information regarding Lin Qian's family background. There was a price that Feng Jing had to pay, of course. Before that happened, his voice as a husband was extremely important to Lin Qian. How could he bear to let the person he deeply loved suffer like this? So he did not think too much about it. The next morning, he gave Tongning a phone call. He turned around and looked at Lin Qian. She appeared to be sleeping soundly. Since this incident happened in the entertainment industry, he was going to use the entertainment industry's method to resolve it. At least, he was going to give Lin Qian a wedding that was blessed and not attacked and humiliated. Tongning was even more direct as she said, "How do you want to play? Superstar Media will provide you with everything you want." Chapter 945. The next morning, the relatives that didn't know that Li Jin had already returned home came over because they were worried that the Li family had been tricked. Father Li went out for a walk, leaving only Mother Li at home helplessly. Qing, I don't think Lin Qian will make it. Look at the comments online. Look at how much the Li family is laughing at you. Xiao Qing, listen to us. Xiao Jin's marriage is indeed unreliable. She spent time in the secular world at such a young age. Who knows if she's done anything embarrassing? If she's found out in the future, wouldn't the Li family be waiting to be ridiculed? Xiao Jin is a talented man. What kind of woman can't he find? Why would he bring a woman like this home? Isn't he purposely making things difficult for himself? Also, you need to be careful. She might have already been violated when she was young and her body is no longer clean. People like her are really dirty. After hearing the suggestions from the women, Mother Li held her forehead. After all, it was fine if these people said it, but she didn't want Lin Qian to be sad. I heard that the woman is currently living at your place. She's not married yet and she's already moved in. She doesn't seem to have a good upbringing. That's right. If you don't want to reject her, we can help you. Mother Li quickly ran over to stop them. What if they really went upstairs and made a big deal out of it? Xiao Qing, don't stop us. After speaking, the group of people headed upstairs. How could Mother Li stop 5 to 6 people? They were, after all, relatives of Mother Li, so they naturally knew which room Li Jin was staying in. So they headed straight over. But, just as they knocked on the door, the person who opened the door was Li Jin. As soon as they saw Li Jin, the relatives were a little surprised. Their expressions immediately turned into mocking smiles. I didn't know that aunties and uncles were so concerned about me, Li Jin said coldly as he closed the door and leaned against it. What do you want to do? Xiao Jin, we only came because we saw the news online. Who gave you permission to interfere in my family matters? Li Jin asked. Think carefully. This is the Li family home, not the Zhao family or the Wang family. How dare you touch my wife? Xiao Jin, your words are too harsh. We are just worried about you. Are you worried about me? Or do you want to build a relationship with me? Li Jin asked coldly. Everyone, the Li family's matters are not up to you to decide. No matter what Lin Qian is like, the wedding will still go ahead. If you don't want to come, then get lost. If I didn't come back, what would you have done to my wife? The group of people was completely frightened by Li Jin's aura. Such a solid block of ice was really not to be trifled with. So, the relatives subconsciously took a few steps back. We also heard from the internet, you can scram now. From today onwards, don't ever appear in front of me again. Otherwise, I'll have endless ways to call upon your children. If you don't believe me, you can try. The group of people was stunned. They knew that Li Jin was really angry. Although they looked unhappy on the surface, they were incomparably afraid. Let's go, all of you go back. We're fine. Jean Eyre knows what he's doing. You don't need to worry about him. You should just mind your own business. Sigh. The group of people couldn't afford to offend Li Jin, so they could only sigh and leave. But Mother Li was speechless at these people. They were crazy. Although they were part of her family, they weren't good people at all. Luckily, Li Jin returned home the night before. Otherwise, Lin Qian would have been torn apart by these people. After sending off the troublemakers, Mother Li turned around and returned home. But, at this time, a man in his early 30s appeared at the front door of her home with a gift. He took off his sunglasses and asked Mother Li, "May I ask if Miss Lin Qian lives here?" "You are?" After confirming where Lin Qian lived, the man immediately pulled out a business card. "Please let me see Miss Lin." As soon as Mother Li saw the card, her eyes opened wide. She had also seen Lin Qian's information and knew that her father's surname was Gu. Afterwards, Mother Li led the man into the living room and went upstairs to tell Li Jin everything. After hearing this, Li Jin did not tell Lin Qian. Instead, he went downstairs to meet the man. "I believe you are Miss Lin's fiancé," the man said politely as he shook Li Jin's hand. "Let me introduce myself." "No need. I know who you are," Li Jin replied. "I've already done my research. Since you already know, then I'll get straight to the point. The thing is, after Miss Lin and Feng Jing's relationship was revealed, our president began to suspect Miss Lin's identity. So he asked me to secretly investigate her. However, he was previously in Europe and didn't have the time to do so. Now that he's confirmed that he is related to Miss Lin, he sent me to meet her first. He's afraid that his sudden appearance will scare Miss Lin. Chen Qian has no intention of disturbing the Gu family's peaceful life. Li Jin replied straightforwardly. "Mr. Li, don't misunderstand. Our president simply wants her to be welcomed back at any time. Everything is up to Miss Lin. But there's no denying that Miss Lin is the flesh and blood of the Gu family. Since that's the case, I'm sure you're aware that Feng Jing is going around slandering Chen Qian. If the Gu family are willing to acknowledge her as their daughter, they should clear her name. Don't worry about that, the president has already spoken to me about this. He's already explained everything about his relationship with Feng Jing to me. If you need anything, just let me know." After hearing this, Li Jin raised an eyebrow. In other words, the Gu family were here to assist her and not to be her enemy. Since that was the case, it was perfect. I can tell you on behalf of the president about how Feng Jing lied to others in the past. You don't need to tell me. You can tell the public. Lin Qian didn't expect the wedding to be so lively. Last night, she had been tormented by Li Jin so much that she didn't even know about the strange relatives causing trouble. As a result, she had missed out on a good show. She was filled with regret. However, this didn't count for much because what Li Jin said next was the most shocking. Her biological father actually came knocking on her door. "How could he be so sure that I'm his daughter? He must have investigated you for a while. Otherwise, why would the Gu family only send someone after the news broke out a few months ago?" Li Jin replied. "But he's quite pitiful. He was tricked by Feng Jing at such a young age." Lin Qian ridiculed. "No wonder Feng Jing abandoned her." Chapter 946. Li Jin couldn't stand Lin Qian's self-mockery, so he wrapped his arm around her shoulder and said, "It's all in the past now. I will protect you, okay?" Lin Qian nodded her head. At least it was already one day before her wedding. Li Jin's return gave her a sense of relief. Since that's the case, it's time to retaliate. The Gu family said that no matter what Li Jin wanted to do, they would cooperate unconditionally. After all, Father Gu's new wife came from a family of scholars. After hearing about her husband's misfortune, she took good care of him. Even with Lin Qian's existence, she was still magnanimous. Of course, the condition was that Feng Jing didn't get off easy. She had to get her retribution. Afterwards, Li Jin gave Tongning a phone call. Meanwhile, Tongning was already preparing a statement. Since they were going to create news, they were going to make it big. It didn't take long before Superstar Media released her first counterattack after all the news about Lin Qian was slandered. The content was as follows. Firstly, after a thorough investigation, Superstar Media has determined that a childhood photo of Lin Qian was leaked by her biological mother, the actress Feng Jing. Secondly, the actress Feng Jing was once the assistant of our agency's artist, Luo Yinghong. Her private life was extremely messy, but because she hadn't abandoned Lin Qian at that time, the photos of Lin Qian were taken while she was in the entertainment industry. They weren't photos that appeared after Lin Qian disappeared. Thirdly, the actress Feng Jing gave birth to a child out of wedlock. Because she was afraid that her dirty laundry would be exposed, she blocked all information about her daughter and colluded with the police because she was afraid that the appearance of her daughter would tarnish her reputation. But because she couldn't stop Lin Qian from appearing, she cried and tried to distort the truth. In reality, she abandoned her daughter, not separated from her. Fourthly, the actress Feng Jing tried to take revenge on her own daughter after she failed to do something for her. Her actions are disgusting and Superstar Media must hold her accountable. Superstar Media will provide evidence for the above accusations. Actress Feng Jing, you're on your own now. As soon as this statement was released, the entire entertainment industry was in an uproar. The information contained in this statement was simply too much. Many of the netizens had to digest the information a few times before they understood what was going on, especially when they heard Superstar Media release a recording of Feng Jing exposing the photos to the paparazzi and photos from their investigation. Although the 4 accusations weren't conclusive, it was enough to convince most people that Feng Jing was evil. Tongning had endured for so long and collected for so long. No matter what, she had to give them something. Otherwise, how could he answer to Feng Jing's arrogance? Of course, now that Feng Jing's scandal had been exposed, it wasn't time to clear Lin Qian's name yet. A good show had to be performed one scene at a time for it to be interesting. So, what Superstar Media is trying to say is that Feng Jing's private life is messy. After giving birth to Lin Qian, she abandoned her and was afraid that Lin Qian would come looking for her. So she colluded with the police. Now that Lin Qian has appeared, not only is she trying to act pitiful, she even wants Lin Qian, who works at Superstar Media, to work for her. If Lin Qian doesn't work for her, she's trying to smear her daughter's name. Am I clear on that? Upstairs. Awesome. Perfect understanding. Based on the evidence, this seems to be the case. After all, considering Lin Qian's attitude towards Feng Jing, it makes perfect sense. I never thought that the actress that I supported for so long would be such a piece of trash. I must be blind. Is Superstar Media telling the truth? Isn't this a dog-eat-dog situation? Come on. Superstar Media didn't cover up Lin Qian's background. Secondly, according to Superstar Media's style, why would they slander an innocent actress? Thirdly, isn't this evidence enough to prove the truth? As a result, it didn't take long before Feng Jing was scolded online. Even Feng Jing's agency had no idea that she had so much dirt on her. It was completely unexpected. But it was only because Luo Yinghong's foot hadn't landed on her yet. Otherwise, Feng Jing would have been in an even worse state. Although Feng Jing's agency was helpless, they still had to help their artist at a time like this. So, they quickly refuted Superstar Media. We've always been aware of Superstar Media's capabilities and their ability to distort the truth. They can bully a small agency like us, we can handle it. The agency was trying to remind the public that with Tongning's capabilities, she could easily turn a deer into a horse. But Tongning didn't mind as she replied, "There's still half of the scandal left. There's still more to come. Don't be in a rush to clear your name." This sentence was probably more of a deterrent, wasn't it? After all, no one knew what kind of show Tongning had up her sleeves. Feng Jing's agency suddenly panicked. If they had known this would happen, they would have surrendered from the start and thrown away Feng Jing. That way, they wouldn't be in such a difficult position. Feng Jing never expected that Superstar Media would attack her, an actress, for the sake of a manager. How much did Tongning value Lin Qian? Plus, she never expected that her past had already been exposed by Hai Rui and the Li family. She thought she had kept it under tight wraps. But Superstar Media said that there was more to come. But the agency couldn't do PR because they didn't know how Tongning was going to slap them in the face. So, they could only watch Feng Jing perish on her own. Originally, Feng Jing had a high chance of winning a Fei Tian award. But Tongning just had to stand in her way. Since she didn't receive the award and caused so much news, it meant that she no longer had any value. Most importantly, they had to cut ties with her as soon as possible. Jingjie, hurry and think of a solution. Superstar Media has been too ruthless this time. If you don't retaliate, the agency is going to give up on you, Feng Jing's manager said anxiously. She was already worried enough, but now, she was sitting at home drinking red wine. What kind of situation was this? What else can I do? Feng Jing asked in an elegant manner. If you're going to give up on yourself, no one can save you. Ha ha ha. Save me? That won't change Lin Qian's background. Even if Superstar Media attacks me, it won't change Lin Qian's background. Seeing Feng Jing's expression, the manager gave up on talking to her. Perhaps this was retribution. Lin Qian is a slut. A little bitch. Haha. Since things had already gotten to this point, Feng Jing no longer needed to hide. So, she decided to let her emotions run wild as she ridiculed herself. I abandoned my daughter? I'm regretting giving birth to Lin Qian. I'm her mother. But what happened in the end? I was heartlessly trampled on by my daughter. After all, I'm the one that gave her life. Ha ha ha, even if that's the case, there's one thing I must admit. Lin Qian didn't come from a good background. How could she possibly marry into a wealthy family with such a dirty background? She must be dreaming. This is Lin Qian's fate. Superstar Media, come and suppress me. After all, you guys are already used to bullying people. Superstar Media, your ability to fabricate news is top-notch. Chapter 947. No one dared to support Feng Jing. After all, Superstar Media's attack was fierce and they wanted to destroy Feng Jing in the first round. Not to mention, Tongning still had a plot to follow. But even so, Feng Jing wasn't afraid. No matter what the public said, she continued to put on her own act. Not only did she claim that Superstar Media was slandering her, they even attacked her personally. Some people, even when the entire world thought that they were shameless, continued to stand strong in the industry and disgust others. They also said some disgusting things. Of course, she thought she could hurt Lin Qian. But, in reality, Lin Qian didn't care about a single word she said. After all, tomorrow was her and Li Jin's wedding. If she had the time, why didn't she properly plan out the wedding? After all, Tongning was already standing up for her. Of course, the public didn't have high hopes for Lin Qian's family background. After all, Superstar Media had exposed Feng Jing, but they hadn't cleared Lin Qian's name. And Lin Qian understood that there was no way to clear her name. Even if she could clear her name, she didn't need it. She preferred to live an honest life. Tomorrow's wedding will definitely attract the attention of the media. Are you sure Uncle and Auntie won't be unhappy? This was the only thing that mattered to Lin Qian. She didn't want the dignified Li family to be criticized because of her. Don't be afraid, okay? Don't you know how protective our parents are? Li Jin patted Lin Qian on the back comfortingly. I hope so. Hurry and get some rest. We need to wake up early tomorrow. Although Lin Qian was a little uneasy, she still listened to Li Jin and went to bed early. But, in the dead of night, she would still feel sad that her life was like this. Getting married was supposed to be a happy and moving event, but she still had to be careful. It was normal for Lin Qian to think this way. But what she didn't know was, Tongning had already arranged everything and Li Jin and the Gu family had already come up with a plan. No one wanted to see Lin Qian get married with a grievance. Tongning instructed Mo Ting to arrange a group of bodyguards while the Gu family arrived at the Li family home early in the morning. As soon as Lin Qian saw them, she was a little surprised. However, the man smiled and said, "Miss, since you are part of the Gu family, please allow me to serve you. I am the Gu family's housekeeper and have taken care of the CEO for half his life. I can be considered as half a father. I definitely have the right to serve you." Lin Qian turned to look at Li Jin and saw him nod his head. This was what the Gu family should do. Afterwards, Lin Qian and Li Jin boarded the car and arrived at the hotel where the wedding was to be held. Lin Qian began to put on her makeup, while Li Jin began to welcome the guests. Some of the media were present, but Li Jin did not make things difficult for them. After all, they were all arranged by Tongning. Plus, there was going to be a good show to watch. The Mo couple were the witnesses for the wedding. Apart from Luo Yinghong, all the other artists from Superstar Media attended. So, the wedding was extremely lively. At this time, Feng Jing once again used Lin Qian's identity to create hype. She wanted to see Lin Qian embarrass herself. Thanks to Feng Jing's influence, many of the guests didn't understand Lin Qian or the Li family. They all thought that Li Jin would definitely spend the rest of his life as a joke after finding a wife like this. Even the commanding officer at the military base started to look down on Lin Qian. But Li Jin did not explain as he calmly welcomed the guests into the hotel. Inside the bride's dressing room, Lin Qian was already dressed in a white dress. This was personally designed by Li Jin. At this moment, when Lin Qian wore it, she finally felt real. She was about to get married. However, while she was getting her makeup done, she still paid attention to the comments and news from the public. "Is there anyone causing trouble outside? What are you worried about?" Tongning asked as she sat beside Lin Qian. "I'm worried that the Li family will be implicated because of me. Since Li Jin is willing to marry you, do you think he'll care about this?" Tongning asked. "The wedding is about to start. What are you worried about? The public is laughing at the Li family for marrying a broken shoe. That's enough. Focus on being your bride." After speaking, Tongning pulled out a jewelry box from the Gu family housekeeper and pulled out a necklace. She then placed it on Lin Qian. It's too expensive. What are you thinking about?" Tongning chuckled. "The Gu family gave this to me. They were probably afraid that you would reject them." After hearing this, Lin Qian felt a little more at ease. It wasn't like she could take Tongning's shares and expect her to buy jewelry for her. Tongning looked at the necklace on Lin Qian's neck and smiled. Obviously, Lin Qian had no idea where the necklace came from. But it didn't matter. After all, there was going to be a good show. Perhaps only a small portion of the guests outside would have high hopes for Lin Qian and Li Jin's marriage. When that time came, their eyes would definitely be blinded. "Okay, the wedding is about to start. I'll help you put on the veil." 12 p.m., the countdown to Lin Qian and Li Jin's wedding officially began and the ceremony was scheduled to begin at 9 p.m. Inside the dreamy wedding hall, Tongning and Mo Ting sat in the main guest seats. Beside them sat Long Jie, Lu Che, Xing Lan and Luo Sheng. Meanwhile, the other guests were all chatting amongst themselves. Of course, there was a lot of ridicule directed at Lin Qian. There's a storm outside, yet they're still able to get married. It can be seen that the Li family is either bewitched by a vixen or their brains are flooded with water. Keep your voice down. What if it's true love? Even if they're true love, they can't choose a woman with such a complicated and dirty background. If worse comes to worst, they can just keep her as a mistress. Who knows what the Li family are thinking? Perhaps Lin Qian is amazing in that area? Ha ha. Stop talking. The wedding is about to start. Tongning did not lose her temper on the spot. After all, it wasn't worth it. Soon, Li Jin and the veiled Lin Qian appeared in front of everyone. Li Jin was dressed in a light blue suit that accentuated his cold aura. As he came from a military background, his body was tall and slender, so he was naturally handsome and captivating. On the other hand, Lin Qian, who was standing beside him, appeared to be extremely lovable and had a rare sense of gentleness. The couple approached the stage and stood in front of the host of the wedding. Lin Qian could clearly sense that the guests weren't looking at her with blessings or praise. They were looking at her with disdain. It was as if they were looking down on her from the bottom of their hearts. This made her want to run away from it. But, at this time, Li Jin suddenly pulled her around to face the guests and remove her veil. At this moment, the diamond necklace on her neck emitted a dazzling glow. Perhaps, the men didn't know much about necklace, but the eyes of the rich women lit up. Is the necklace on Lin Qian's neck the eternal star that the British royal family auctioned off? Chapter 948. Wasn't it auctioned off by a rich man for $140 million? How did it end up on her neck? This isn't a fake, is it? No, this is the necklace that was auctioned off. I can guarantee it on my honor. The guests began to discuss amongst themselves. Even those that didn't know the background of the necklace and the media could tell that it was worth a fortune. After all, it was made from 108 diamonds and the cutting process was one of the best in the world. Tongning scanned her eyes across the guests before she leaned into Mo Ting's embrace and adjusted herself into a comfortable position as she watched Li Jin perform. Before the ceremony begins, I have something to say to the guests, Li Jin said as he held onto Lin Qian's hand. I know that everyone has seen a lot of news regarding Chen Qian recently, and you all agree that she has a complicated background and isn't very glamorous. I've also heard the dissatisfaction that some of the guests have towards Chen Qian. So, I would like to ask, what does my marriage have to do with any of you? The reason why I've chosen to marry Chen Qian at this time is because she is the wife that I've decided to marry. This has nothing to do with her background. So, everyone, you don't need to worry about us. From now on, we will continue our journey until our hair turns white. Also, I'd like to ask everyone to wait a few more minutes because an important guest is still on his way. Who is it? Everyone was curious. Did the Li family invite Feng Jing as well? That couldn't be possible, right? Were they trying to make things difficult for themselves? After speaking, Li Jin held onto Lin Qian's hand and waited patiently in front of the host of the wedding. 5 minutes passed, but there was still no movement from the entrance. After a while, a person finally entered the hall from the side door. Those that were a distance away may not have seen him clearly, but those that were close by couldn't help but cover their mouths as soon as they saw him. This man was none other than the current king of the hotel, Gu Qixian. Sorry, I'm late. Lin Qian looked at the man in surprise. Her palms were already sweaty. She never imagined that she would see her father under such circumstances. Upon closer inspection, the two men did indeed look alike. As for Gu Qixian, he was dressed in a black suit. Even though he was old, one could still see his heroic spirit. He walked onto the stage and stood in front of the newlyweds. He grabbed Lin Qian's hand and placed it in Li Jin's. You must treat the daughter of the Gu family well. Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard this. What did he mean by that? I, Gu Qixian, have never done anything in my life that I regret. However, there were times when I was young and frivolous. At that time, I was ignorant and had my feelings cheated. I didn't even know that Chen Qian was born. But Chen Qian is the flesh and blood of the Gu family. She is my precious daughter. From today onwards, if anyone dares to look down on her, they are looking down on me. Good heavens! It turned out that the plot could be reversed like this. One moment Lin Qian was a chicken, and the next moment she was a phoenix in distress. The mystery of her birth was really full of ups and downs. No wonder she could wear such a necklace. It turned out that she was actually the daughter of a high-class tycoon. Although she had been living outside for a long time, she could now be considered to have returned to her family. In reality, Lin Qian once again felt that everything in front of her was surreal, especially when her father suddenly appeared out of nowhere. She didn't know how to accept it, even though she knew that Li Jin had arranged this to clear her name. Chen Qian, Dad owes you an apology. Lin Qian shook her head. She had never expected anything from her father. That's enough. Today is your big day. Let's start with the ceremony. Feng Jing immediately found out that Gu Qixian had come out to acknowledge his daughter. She was both surprised and pleasantly surprised. She was surprised because she never expected that this man would acknowledge Lin Qian's identity. But she was happy because, by acknowledging Lin Qian, did that mean that he was acknowledging her past? So, she thought that she would be able to rise in status because of her daughter. But, in reality, both Superstar Media and the Gu family released a statement to clarify Lin Qian's identity. Of course, they also revealed Gu Qixian and Feng Jing's past relationship to the public. Feng Jing hid everything from the public and lied about Lin Qian's feelings. Then, she tried to take advantage of the relationship to benefit from it. But, in reality, she secretly hooked up with a few rich heirs and wasn't a proper woman. So, the statement meant that the Gu family acknowledged Lin Qian. But, they didn't acknowledge Feng Jing. Not only this, but they also revealed how Feng Jing used underhanded methods to lure others and how she used their feelings. The Gu family didn't think that their past was shameful because Gu Qixian was a victim and could face his own mistakes. But, because of this revelation, Feng Jing's situation became even worse. Most importantly, when the Gu family revealed Lin Qian's identity, they specifically stated that as a member of the Gu family, Lin Qian would receive their protection and that if anyone tried to hurt her, even if it was her own mother, they would not forgive them. As a result, Feng Jing's imagination was completely cut off. The onlookers immediately exclaimed that they had just watched a good drama series. Was this the follow-up to Tongning's story? No, after the Gu family made their statement, Superstar Media simply said, "Tomorrow the drama will continue. How could Luo Yinghong's foot be considered complete before it landed? Lin Qian's wedding was going to be unforgettable. At least it was going to be a topic of conversation for a few days." Xing Lan sat next to Long Jie while Lu Che sat beside Mo Ting. Seeing the scene, he praised himself for being smart and becoming friends with a rich heiress. "Isn't Ning Jie the most important heiress here?" Long Jie reminded. "That's right, Ning Jie. I've recently fallen in love with a perfume from Tang Kor, but it's out of stock." Xing Lan took the opportunity to act coquettishly. Tongning glanced at her and smiled slyly. "I've handed Tang Kor to my brother. Why don't you contact him?" "Are you talking about Luo Xing?" Speaking of which, it had been a long time since she had returned to the Tang family home. Although Xia Yuling would come over every now and then to help her take care of her son, it had been a long time since she had seen her grandfather and Tang Jingxian. It seemed, after resolving Feng Jing's matter, it was time for her to pay them a visit. Lin Qian was finally married, even though she felt like this wedding was a complete act in front of the elders. Everyone else's weddings were filled with happiness and happiness, but her wedding was filled with an important historical responsibility, to clarify her identity. Lin Qian was actually a little disappointed. So, as a husband, Li Jin secretly told Lin Qian as he toasted the guests, "Tomorrow, I will be going on a mission. I'll be gone for around 2 months. After I return, I'll take you on a honeymoon and hold a wedding that truly belongs to us." So, he was implying that the wedding was a complete act. Lin Qian glared at him, but she couldn't bring herself to be angry. So, she directly retorted, "I will also be returning to work tomorrow. I want to see how Feng Jing's reputation is destroyed." Chapter 949. On the night of their wedding, Lin Qian put the necklace away. Now that she knew the origin of the Heart of Eternity, she still couldn't accept an item from the Gu family. But, since the necklace had already proven her identity, she decided to return it. Inside the bathroom, the sound of running water indicated that Li Jin was in the middle of a shower. Dressed in her red silk pajamas, Lin Qian turned around and looked at their wedding bed. At this moment, her face suddenly turned red. She was actually married, and she understood what was going to happen next. Soon, Li Jin stepped out of the bathroom naked. As soon as he saw Lin Qian packing her things, he immediately hugged her from behind. "Don't pack anymore. Let's get some rest. Okay?" Lin Qian understood what he meant. so she slowly put down the things in her hands. As soon as Li Jin saw this, he lifted her in his arms and placed her on the soft bed. As he had to leave at 5 p.m., he had to make every second count. "You're finally my wife," Li Jin mumbled as he kissed Lin Qian. "But, Qian, marry me. I may not always be by your side." Lin Qian understood. So, she wrapped her arms around his neck and replied, "Go ahead. I'll take good care of the house." Following this, Li Jin did not need to say a word. He simply covered her softness and deepened his kiss. Outside the door, Mother Li was secretly eavesdropping on the sounds in the room. Her hands danced around in joy with an exaggerated expression on her face. Father Li felt helpless at her actions. "Old man, I think we're going to have a grandchild soon." Father Li glared at her and pulled her back into the room. What kind of mother eavesdropped on their son as soon as they got married? Shameless. Of course, Li Du's mother was just playing around. But, that night, everyone was immersed in the joyous atmosphere of Lin Qian's wedding. So, they had no idea that Feng Jing had used Luo Yinghong's son to swindle her out of her savings. The couple had agreed to meet at the airport to flee the country. As soon as Luo Yinghong found out that her savings had been stolen by her son, she immediately went to look for her son's best friend. After hearing about her son's whereabouts, she immediately rushed to the airport. Before the couple could board their flight, Luo Yinghong found their flight number and stopped them from going through security. At this moment, Luo Yinghong no longer cared about her identity as she removed Feng Jing's mask and threw a slap across her face. This incident naturally appeared on the entertainment headlines the next day. After all, it happened in the middle of the night, so Luo Yinghong didn't have time to notify Tongning. Afterwards, Feng Jing went to the hospital to get her injuries checked and demanded that Luo Yinghong be charged with assault. Meanwhile, Luo Yinghong's son remained by Feng Jing's side like a loyal servant. Sometimes a chill would only last for a short moment. The reporters surrounded the hospital and Feng Jing was also being interviewed. This time, Luo Yinghong did not run away because she was in the hospital the entire time. As soon as she saw Feng Jing crying, she directly walked into the crowd of reporters. "Look, it's Luo Yinghong." Facing the reporters, Luo Yinghong asked in a tough tone, "You're going to cry to everyone that I hit you. Are you brave enough to tell them why I hit you?" Feng Jing froze as her eyes flickered. This time, Luo Yinghong couldn't hold back anymore as she walked over to her son and snatched his bag. She then pulled out a gold card and showed it to the reporters. "Once upon a time, when you were my assistant, you stole my resources, stole my Best Actress award and stole my life. I've never thought about getting back at you. But now you're even trying to steal my son and my savings. Are you brave enough to admit to your relationship with the man beside you?" The reporters froze for a moment before they started snapping photos of Feng Jing. The information in Luo Yinghong's words was too much. What did she say? Feng Jing actually seduced her son? She even tried to trick her out of her savings? Feng Jing looked at the man beside her and suddenly found herself unable to refute. After all, the couple were intimate and this was an undeniable fact. But she never expected that Luo Yinghong, the person that cared about her son's reputation the most, would say something like this. "Mom, don't go too far. Feng Jing and I are truly in love. What can't we do?" As soon as the man said this, the reporters went crazy as they surrounded him. Meanwhile, Luo Yinghong laughed angrily. "I've said it before. There's nothing you can't do. If you like a slut like her, then go ahead and do whatever you want." But Luo Yinghong raised her gold card and continued, "You shouldn't have tricked me out of my savings for that slut. If you're capable, you should earn your own money to support her. You're my mother. You earned your money for me. Since you're going to give it to me in the future, why can't you give it to me now?" Bullshit. Even if I were to donate it to charity, I would never give it to you. "You're on your own," Luo Yinghong said as she stepped out from the crowd with her head held high. At this moment, all she could think about was the fact that she didn't want her son anymore. Things quickly got out of hand. But Luo Yinghong's actions weren't actually inappropriate. Although she was the one who made the first move, from the media's reports, not only did Feng Jing steal someone's life, she also stole their son. Not only that, but she also stole their son and savings from them. If someone else was in her shoes, they would have immediately jumped in with a knife. So, everyone supported Luo Yinghong and felt that her reaction was decent and domineering. By the time Tongning found out about the incident, Luo Yinghong had already returned to Superstar Media from the hospital. As soon as she saw Tongning, she said apologetically, "I'm sorry, I couldn't control myself." "You've already controlled yourself well enough," Tongning said as she hugged Luo Yinghong. "Leave the rest to me. Hong Jie, you are still young and have a bright future ahead of you. Your son is already 22 years old. No matter what decision he makes, he will have to personally face the consequences. Don't worry, I won't fall." Tongning nodded her head. She knew that before Luo Yinghong's son was hurt by Feng Jing, Luo Yinghong would be hurt by her own son first. So, from today onwards, she was going to live her own life and pretend that she never gave birth to her son. With Luo Yinghong's words, Tongning had nothing to worry about anymore. So, Feng Jing's past crimes, which year, which incident, and what she stole from Luo Yinghong were all recorded down in Tongning's notebook. Although Feng Jing had already been kicked by everyone when she was down and looked like she was crying, as Luo Yinghong's artist, Superstar Media still had to control the public's opinion. At least, they had to make sure everyone understood what kind of person Feng Jing was. The video of Luo Yinghong's retaliation at the hospital was so satisfying. Feng Jing is a cancer to the human race. I hope she lives the rest of her life in misery. She could even do something like snatching someone else's son. Moreover, this child is 1 generation younger than her. Lin Mingya's eyes widened. Superstar Media is going to sue this jerk. Even though he knew Tongning was serious in everything she did, with the current domestic film industry, even if Tongning was successful, he didn't think she would be able to catch up to those overseas. It wasn't like he was purposely being pessimistic. He had never seen Tongning do it before. Tongning smiled without saying a word. At this time, Mo Ting looked at Tang Jingxian and asked coldly, "Who are you cutting?" Tang Jingxian rubbed the back of his head. He was speechless. Seeing this, Tongning immediately burst into laughter. Originally, everything was going smoothly, but Luo Shang's dinner party disrupted Superstar Media's peace. And, this time, it may even affect Superstar Media's survival. In reality, Luo Shang wasn't wrong. Even though he personally negotiated all his resources, he always reported to Tongning ahead of time and listened to her analysis before he headed over with a peace of mind. But he didn't attend this dinner party of his own volition. In reality, the daughter of the boss of a film and television agency liked him a lot, so she wanted to invite him to take part in a popular IP that they were currently filming. In fact, he was going to play the male lead. Luo Shang felt that this offer was very tempting. But the thing that made him uneasy was the fact that the satellite TV agency was working with had a reputation for being disgusting. Although he was still young, under the influence of Tongning, his outlook on life had been set straight. If he had a choice, he would not have chosen to appear in a television show like this and increase the viewership of a satellite TV station. So, even though he did not directly reject the man, he still managed to get his point across. "I'm sorry, President Fan. I'm not trying to be arrogant or disappoint you. I just recently accepted a TV show and I'm afraid that I won't be able to make it in time." "Young man, it's fine. We can wait for you." The man seemed to be trying to flatter Luo Shang for the sake of his daughter. "Here's the thing, President Fan. I'm not afraid to be honest with you. But, if you really want to wait for me, it may take a long time. I'm afraid that I'll hold you up. It's fine. I have other projects to attend to." Luo Shang couldn't offend the man directly. After all, the man was genuinely giving him a chance. So, he had no choice but to reject him for now. After returning to Superstar Media, Luo Shang explained his thoughts to Tongning. "Ningjie, this television station has a bad reputation and treats the audience like idiots. So, I really don't want to take part in this drama. But, I can't really reject President Fan." After hearing this, Tongning patted Luo Shang on the shoulder and agreed with his decision. "You did nothing wrong. You don't need to feel guilty. I understand your current status, and it's not a good idea to offend people. You can look for other resources first. Let's see if President Fan will continue to pester you. Okay. Ning Jieb. As a popular young man, he needed to enjoy popularity, but he also needed to endure the pain that others didn't understand. A lot of good resources were currently aimed at Luo Sheng. There were even big bosses that wanted to personally train him. But Luo Sheng truly believed that there was no need for them to work with each other because their values were different. He didn't object to President Fan and the others' way of doing things, but he didn't agree with them either. Soon, the other ancient drama that Luo Sheng had previously agreed on was officially announced. Originally, Luo Sheng thought he would be able to hide from President Fan on set. But, to his surprise, his daughter clung on to him and made President Fan look for him again. Luo Sheng, I did promise you that I would wait for you. But look at how unwilling Xiao Yao is. Can't you give me some face and start filming earlier? I'm sorry, President Fan. I've already discussed this project. I know you've already discussed it, but a film like this won't be aired on a top channel. What future does it have? Was President Fan trying to force him? President Fan, I need to be honest. I will definitely finish this film, Luo Sheng said helplessly. After all, he knew that he couldn't afford to offend President Fan. President Fan squinted his eyes meaningfully and decided to let Luo Sheng off the hook. I hope you don't regret this. Chapter 951. Although Luo Sheng was a little scared, he didn't regret it like President Fan said. Although he didn't know the consequences, he still stood by his decision. Soon, Luo Sheng packed his luggage and prepared to head to the set. But, due to financial issues, they decided to extend filming indefinitely. After hearing this, Luo Sheng immediately felt that something wasn't right. So he gave the director a phone call to ask for the reason. The director sighed and said, I wonder who offended our major shareholder. Why did they suddenly withdraw their investment? Luo Sheng, I'm so sorry. Luo Sheng felt like he had been struck by lightning. His mind went blank. Turned out, capital could be played like this. It completely ignored the results of other people's hard work. Thinking that this was President Fan's doing, Luo Sheng was furious. But what could he do? Soon, President Fan came looking for Luo Sheng again. On the surface, he appeared extremely polite. Luo Sheng, I heard that the drama you accepted has stopped production due to financial issues. I've also checked your schedule. I'm sure you don't have an excuse to reject it this time, right? Luo Sheng endured the disgust in his heart and tried his best to remain clear-headed. President Fan, I'm still an artist of superstar media. I need to ask my manager first. President Fan was dressed in a suit, smoking a cigar as he patted Luo Sheng on the shoulder and nodded his head. That's the way it should be. But you need to think this through. My brother-in-law is also a shareholder of Hai Rui and has access to many resources. If you follow me, I will definitely make you an international superstar. After hearing this, Luo Sheng did not feel like he was receiving special treatment. Instead, he felt pressured. This was because President Fan was telling him that they also held shares in Hai Rui. In the end, an arm couldn't win against a thigh. But, after calming himself down for a moment, Luo Sheng still gave Tongning a phone call and explained the entire situation to her. After hearing everything, Tongning said to Luo Sheng, give the phone to President Fan. Luo Sheng did as he was told. President Tang. As soon as President Fan heard this, a deep smile appeared on his face. Even if it was Tongning, he wasn't afraid. After all, they were both investors and she was a relative of Hai Rui. He didn't believe that Tongning would dare to do anything to him. President Fan. President Tang, I've heard so much about you. I heard that President Fan wants to invite our Luo Sheng to act in your super IP. But, I wonder, why did President Fan skip his agency and directly look for an actor? Luo Sheng is a coward. I hope you won't scare him. Since it's a good resource, President Tang should know how hard it is to come by. I like Luo Sheng because he's young and has good acting skills. That's why I decided to convince him first before contacting you. I wonder which Mr. Fan's IP will be. Don't tell me it's the pirate Dr. Sage that had a copyright dispute before? President Fan paused for a moment. He never expected that Tongning had already investigated everything. I'm sorry, President Fan. I think it wouldn't be too late for us to work together after you've secured the copyright. I know you want Luo Shang, but Luo Shang's contract will soon be transferred to Hai Rui. When that time comes, if you really want to work with him, please make a trip to Hai Rui. President Fan used Hai Rui to pressure Luo Shang, so Tongning played along and used Hai Rui to push President Fan to the extreme. Even though President Fan had a lot of resources, he was still involved in shady businesses. Although there were plenty of artists that didn't care about copyright disputes, Tongning and Luo Shang, of course, weren't going to make money from ill-gotten gains. After beating around the bush with Tongning, President Fan was finally angry. He hung up the phone and threw it at Luo Shang. If my daughter didn't like you, I wouldn't even look at you. You don't know what's good for you. Luo Shang stood to one side, not daring to move. At least, when it came to physical strength, he couldn't compare to this man. After President Fan left, Luo Shang's legs turned to jelly. So, he once again pulled out his phone and gave Tongning a phone call. Ningjie, what should we do next? You've already received the Fei Tian Best Newcomer Award, so you are more than qualified to go to Hai Rui. Only Hai Rui can protect you from these shitty resources. But, I don't want to go to Hai Rui. Luo Shang had already decided that he was going to stick by Tongning's side. Even Xing Lan's contract has returned to Superstar Media. Why can't I hold on a little longer? Listen to me. President Fan's background can't be underestimated. Even I have to be cautious of him. If he continues to pester you and things get out of hand, none of us will be able to deal with him. Luo Shang did not say another word. He simply felt a little sad. Although Hai Rui was the best platform for development in the industry, he still felt like something was missing. Of course, Luo Shang had no idea that this was only the beginning of the series of problems that he caused. Since Luo Shang refused to take on an IP, the production team couldn't continue waiting for him. So, they decided to replace him with another popular young actor. As soon as the announcement was made, it became a hot topic. Soon, news of Luo Shang's rejection began to spread. The public couldn't understand why Luo Shang would reject such a big production and IP. Just wait and see. When this drama becomes popular, Luo Shang will know the meaning of regret. This drama is so good. Luo Shang must have eyes but failed to recognize MT Tai. Fuck. I can't believe Luo Shang had the guts to reject the role. He must be out of his mind. No matter how badly the public looked at Luo Shang did not say a word. There was not a single trace of regret on his face. However, President Fan's evil intentions were blown from his sister to the shareholders of Hai Rui. After some embellishment, they completely changed the meaning of President Fan's words. After all, President Fan's sister knew how to take advantage of other people's weaknesses. So, a little while later, Hai Rui held an emergency board meeting and Mo Ting attended. The main topic of the meeting was the meaning behind Superstar Media's existence. President Mo, we originally agreed that Superstar Media would look for artists and that after they become famous, they would sign with Hai Rui and their contracts would belong to Hai Rui. But now, not only did Luo Shang, who has the right qualifications, not join Hai Rui, but even Xing Lan's contract has been returned to Hai Rui. I want to know why. Secondly, I'm sure you've seen Superstar Media's reputation in the industry. Although Tongning doesn't use Hai Rui's name to do things, the fact that you are her husband and she's supporting you means that you are her backing and support. Since you are a subsidiary company, your achievements are enough to shock the parent company and your reputation is close to Hai Rui's. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to rebel? Thirdly, Tongning's way of doing things is extreme and heartless. On the surface, it may seem like she's advancing the entertainment industry, but in reality, she's making enemies for Hai Rui. Although she's helped a few artists become famous, Hai Rui can do the same thing. In fact, they can do it better than her. In summary, I don't think Superstar Media needs to exist anymore. What does everyone think? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.